Everybody, happy Friday, happy unofficial start of summer. We got Memorial Day weekend coming up right after this. It's a beautiful time to be a Philadelphia sports fan because the Fightin' Phils are on fire, sweeping the Colorado Rockies in 4 games, second straight sweep. Not getting too carried away. The Rockies are absolutely brutal. We'll talk a little bit about that coming up later in the show. But you got Andrew DeCecco today, Mr. Football, no Mikey Miss, Ray Dunn behind the glass. So it's crazy. I looked at something today, Andrew. It's been a little over 100 days since the Philadelphia Eagles won Super Bowl 59. And we are a little over 100 days away from opening night against the Dallas Cowboys. So we are smack dab in the middle. So what I want to do, and this is a big thank you to Saquon Barkley for putting this out there, is I want to take a look back as we get ready for the unofficial start of summer, as we get ready for a fun Memorial Day weekend. I want to have some fun reliving a magical football team, the 2024 Philadelphia Eagles, because Saquon Barkley said on a podcast that he feels this is a top 5 team of all time. Not a top 5 Philadelphia Eagles team of all time. A top 5 team in the history of the National Football League. So we're going to talk about that because I actually think when you look at it, and I got a bunch of reasons why, I think Saquon may be right here, Andrew.
Are you sure about that? Because I may beg to differ. But you can't deny, Bill, that was a special season for the Philadelphia Eagles. And when you look at Saquon Barkley, the output that he had, 2,000 yards, one of only 9 players to do it, and the Eagles have the advantage of winning the Super Bowl. They steamrolled through the NFL playoffs, and they won the Super Bowl. But I may disagree with your opinion there, and Saquon's, with all due respect.
All right, well, we're going to play with this topic then because I think a lot of people have opinions on this, on whether or not they're the top 5. Is it just recency bias or not? Let me give you some things here, all right? The 2024 Philadelphia Eagles had the most wins ever in the history of the NFL with 18. That tied the 07 Patriots, who did not win the Super Bowl, by the way, the 1985 Chicago Bears, the 1984 San Francisco 49ers. Now, before you make the argument, I understand they played 17 games where other teams only played 16, sometimes even less.
That's where I was going.
All right, but they did win 18 games. They won 16 of their final 17 games to win the Super Bowl, and the only one they lost, Jalen Hurts gets hurt in the first quarter. They had the most points ever in the history of the playoffs. They had the most rushing yards ever in a season combined with their playoff performance. Most rushing yards ever. They were a plus 68 point differential in the playoffs. That's the best since 2002. A plus 50 point differential in the NFC Championship and the Super Bowl alone. That's the best since 2000. A plus 12 turnover differential in the playoffs. Second best ever. They set a conference championship record with 55 damn points. And they're only the second team since the 1970 merger to not only have the NFL's rushing champion, but also the number 1 defense, tying the 1992 Dallas Cowboys. So when I look at this, I don't think this is just a homer opinion or recency bias. This team was flat out dominant, Andrew DeCecco.
Yeah, I mean, they are, but you can't forget the 85 Bears, the 1978 Steelers, the 1972 Dolphins, the 2013 Denver Broncos, which, by the way, they averaged 37.9 points a game. Peyton Manning threw for nearly 5,500 yards. We can go down the list there. Noshawn Moreno, 1,000 yards. Demaryius Thomas, 1,400 yards receiving, 14 touchdowns. Eric Decker, 1,288 yards, 11 touchdowns. Julius Thomas, 788, 12 touchdowns. Wes Welker, 778 yards and 10. So you can see where I'm going with this. Those are historic numbers. You look at the 2007 Patriots. They did not seal the deal and win the Super Bowl. Randy Moss, 23 touchdowns. So it's not as crystal clear as what, as you may think.
All right, well, you mentioned, we'll talk about the other ones in a second, but let's first take a look at the 07 Patriots, right? I mentioned this to Ray Dunn. What's up, Ray? Good morning, buddy.
Hey, good morning. Good to see you.
I mentioned this to Ray Dunn before the show. Do we eliminate the 2007 Patriots from the discussion altogether because they didn't win the Super Bowl? See, I think if you are not a Super Bowl champion, as dominant as the 07 Patriots were, I don't even think they could be in the discussion. They did not win
Well,
the Super Bowl.
that's my next question. What is the criteria? Because you said the best team ever. That still counts. It's a regular season. It's part of the season, and those numbers go into NFL history. So, what are the qualifiers here?
My opinion, and we'll get everyone else's opinion on the text board and the phone line 610-632-0975. But my opinion, you have to have at least won the Super Bowl. As dominant as the 07 team was, it's all about championships, man. Like when we look at the 04 Philadelphia Eagles, they were a great team. But we don't say they were the best team in Eagles history because they didn't accomplish the ultimate goal. They didn't win the Super Bowl down in Jacksonville against the Patriots. I think the 07 Patriots have to be eliminated from the discussion.
But when you look back on NFL history, they're largely viewed as one of the best teams ever. When you look at the amount of points that they were able to put up, all the players on their offense putting up career numbers, including Randy Moss, Wes Welker. I think they had Dante Stallworth that year as well. Tom Brady, 50 touchdown passes.
So where would you rank them then? You would put the 07 Patriots above this team?
I'm naming some teams out there that it's not quite as clear as you think. It might not be a slam dunk because let's not forget. Talk about the 78 Steelers. I talk about the 72 Dolphins. Of course, you know what I mean? So it's you see
It's an interesting discussion.
5, yeah.
And reminder, the reason that we brought this up is because Saquon Barkley himself said he tells his boys all the time, we were a top 5 team of all time. And what he cited to was they start the season 2-2, and then after the bye week, his exact words were belt to ass. That's what he said going down the stretch.
BTA, yeah.
And he's not wrong when you say 16 of 17 games and the only one you lose, your starting quarterback, gets hurt. But we'll dive deeper into this because I want to look at where this Eagles team ranked in terms of defensive yards and points, offensive and all that, and we'll compare them to some of the best teams. You just threw out a couple, the 85 Bears, the 72 Dolphins, the 07 Patriots. You really like that 2012 Broncos team.
No, it was 2013, actually.
2013.
Because they got rolled by the Seahawks in the Super Bowl. Remember he fumbled, or no Sean Moreno or somebody
then
fumbled?
They're out, dude. They lost. I thought you were talking about the Broncos team that won.
According to your criteria.
Yeah, they're out. They're eliminated
but their season was historic.
Now, you didn't mention the 1999 LA Rams.
Or 98 Broncos.
The 98 Broncos. You got the 89 49ers were a pretty damn good team. That 2013 Broncos team, the team they lost to, Legion of Boom, has to be up there. So this is a discussion we want to have today. Do you agree with Saquon Barkley that the Philadelphia Eagles last season were a top 5 team of all time? You could weigh in on the text board or the phone line, 610-632-0975. In fact, Ray, coming out, I want to put up a Twitter poll with this too because I want to see where the masses weigh in on whether or not this is a top 5 team or this is just recency bias. But it wasn't just Saquon Barkley who said this was a top 5 team because coming up after this, I want to remind people something that Jeffrey Lurie said down in West Palm Beach at the Breakers Resort during the owners' meeting back in April, where Jeffrey's hinting, maybe not even top 5, maybe best ever. So we'll play that for you coming up. We'll continue this Eagles discussion. We'll get into some Phillies a little bit later on in the show. You got Bill Colarulo, Andrew DeCecco today. As always, Ray Dunn behind the glass. We'll be right back.
Philadelphia Union.
Welcome back into the Mike Missanelli Show. No Mikey missed today. You got Bill Colarulo and Ray Dunn, and we're joined by the football genius himself, Andrew DeCecco. So clearly, when we got the football guy in the studio, we're going to do some Eagles talk to start. And Saquon Barkley gave us a nice jumping off point because he made a bold statement yesterday on the Exciting Mike's podcast with Cooper DeJean and Reed Blankenship saying that last year's Eagles team was a top 5 team of all time. Not just in Eagles history, but NFL history. And I looked at the numbers. I started doing some research last night, and there are other teams that you could put in contention. But I think Saquon is right, and I gave reasons before the break. I'll give them again. You look down the list of the things that this Eagles team accomplished, mainly winning 18 football games. No team has won more in the history of the National Football League than 18 in a season between the regular season and the playoffs. And I get it that they play one more game. They played 17 games, but 18 wins is 18 wins, no matter how you slice it. That's not easy to do. They also won 16 of their final 17. Jalen Hurts wasn't in that game that they lost, which is just mind-blowing, that they basically won every single game after the bye week in Week 5 that Jalen Hurts started and finished. They had the most points ever in the playoffs, the most rushing yards ever in a season, the most points ever in an NFC championship game or conference championship game in that matter, a plus 68-point differential throughout the playoffs. That's the best in 23 years. A plus 50-point differential between the championship game and the Super Bowl. That's the best in 25 years. They were a plus 12 turnover differential throughout the playoffs. That's the second best in the history of the National Football League. And they're only the second team ever to lead the NFL in rushing and have the number 1 defense. Andrew, I know there's been some good teams throughout history. I get it. But I just gave you all of those facts. This team was flat out dominant, man.
Yes, but it's also important to take into account the eras of football because the game has evolved so much. So it's not exactly, it's not a fair comparison. You look at the Dolphins in 72. They went 17-0. They had 2 1,000-yard rushers in Mercury Morris and Larry Zonka. They had the top offense.
Oh, Zonka.
Yeah, I love Larry Zonka. They had the top offense and the top defense in the league. And, I mean, you look at the 78 Steelers. They went 17-2. They had 10 Hall of Famers on that team. Terry Bradshaw, Lynn Swann, John Stallworth. They went nuts that year. I think sometimes recency bias may play in. Now, I haven't exactly ranked where I have all these teams, but I'm not slighting the 2024 Eagles. That was a historic season. But I think you have to look at the whole history of the league, and you start to see some really talented teams, some of them that could challenge for being the best ever. So that's where I'm at with it.
So you just brought up something interesting. You say recency bias. So during the break, I had Ray put up a Twitter poll at 97.5 The Fanatic on this very question. Ray, why don't you introduce the Twitter poll for everybody?
Sounds good. Saquon Barkley said the 2024 Eagles were a top 5 all-time team in the NFL. Do you agree with Saquon? Your 3 options are yes, they're top 5, no, but top 10, no, just recency bias. And if you can believe it, the Philadelphia audience right now at 62.5% of the vote saying yes, top 5, 26% of the vote saying no, but top 10, and 11% of the vote saying no, just recency bias.
Stunner.
I don't think it's them being homers, man. I think there's an objective argument that could be made with how dominant this team was. Now, Saquon says top 5, okay?
See, that is more realistic than the best team ever.
Well, that's where we're going because Jeffrey Lurie, before he gave his impassioned speech to the owners yesterday to save the tush push, at the last owners meeting back April 1st is I think when this statement was made. Mm-hmm. He met with the media, the one time he meets with the media and gives kind of his State of the Union. And he threw out, he wasn't even asked about this, and he threw out this subtle comment. Listen to Jeffrey Lurie.
I'd almost like to say that has there been a better NFL team than the 24 Eagles? I don't know. I'd much rather say that. I'm very proud of that.
Whoa! So Jeffrey Lurie asking the question, not top 5, best ever. Now, you're not going there, Andrew.
No, you can't go there. You can make a case for the top 5, but I think the best ever when we just ran through a bunch of different teams, such as the 72 Dolphins, such as the 85 Bears, the 84 49ers. See, I mean, it's all subjective and based on how you perceive it, but I also think that another part of the criteria or something to keep an eye on is that there's different eras. So I think what the Dolphins did in 1972 is very impressive.
Yeah, look, I keep saying that the Eagles won 18 games this year, which is the most ever. The Dolphins only had a 14-game regular season. So they won 14 games in the regular season, didn't lose, and then they won 3 playoff games to go 17-0. But you're right. You got to take errors into account because let's be honest here, and I think maybe people would all agree with me. Maybe you would disagree. If the 1972 Dolphins lined up against the 2024 Philadelphia Eagles, it would be a bloodbath for the Eagles.
Yeah, it wouldn't be close.
The Philadelphia Eagles would dominate the 72 Dolphins. But it's all relative because you got to look at what the athletes were like in the 70s.
The natural evolution of the game, and now it's much more pass-heavy. It was very run-heavy for, back in those times, and obviously 2 1,000-yard rushers would indicate that. So it's not exactly an apt comparison.
No, but the team that I put up there, though, that is maybe the best ever. I know the Dolphins get all the credit because they went undefeated.
The 85 Bears.
Yeah, dude, that's where I'm going. This 85 Chicago Bears team was unbelievable. So not only did they go 15-1 in the regular season, and they ended up winning 3 playoff games, so they tie the 18 wins that the Eagles had. Their defense that year only gave up a total of 198 points.
And 10 points in 3 playoff games.
Dude, that is insane. Like, you look at this Eagles defense. We all know how good this Eagles defense was. This Eagles defense gave up over 300 points.
Right.
The Chicago Bears, 198? And then, like you said, 10 points in the playoffs?
And 3 playoff games.
Now, the one advantage I would give the Eagles, though.
Quarterback.
I'm taking Jalen over Jim McMahon, right?
Yeah, come on now. That's not even close.
Every day of the week, I'm taking Jalen over Jim McMahon. But look, this is a fun conversation to have on the Friday before the unofficial start of summer. So we want to hear from you. Where would you rank the Philadelphia Eagles 2024 season all time in NFL history based off of Saquon saying top 5, based off of Jeffrey Lurie back in April throwing out maybe best ever. But as I bring up Jalen Hurts, there's something I want to get into on the other side because when Jalen Hurts got his big contract, we looked at it as, oh, man, some people were saying, did they overpay? Did they pay him too soon? Jalen Hurts' contract may now be one of the best bargains in the National Football League because all these quarterbacks are getting paid. I want to take a look at the top 10 quarterbacks in terms of annual salary and how many Super Bowls those top 10 have won. The answer may shock you, and we'll talk about Jalen Hurts being the best bargain in the National Football League. We got you all the way till 2 o'clock. You got Bill Colarulo and Andrew DeCecco today. Ray Dunn, as always, behind the glass. There's another fun thing I want to throw out there, though. We want to talk about the Eagles. We'll get into the Phillies a little bit later. I was talking to my man Andrew before the show. I said, yo, are you a horror movie fan? And he is. I am. 45 years ago today, The Shining was released, May 23rd, 1980. And with the summer, we always hear about summer movies and all that stuff. I don't need you to call in on this, but if you want to hit up the text board, what's the best horror movie of all time, man? I'm always looking to go back and watch some horror movies. I know Mikey Miss isn't a big horror guy.
Maybe you'll take some notes if I have some that you haven't seen, and likewise.
Yeah, so hit us up on the text board with that as well. Best horror movie of all time. 45 years ago, The Shining. That one still creeps me out. But we're going to continue this conversation. On the other side, how many Super Bowl trophies combined between the top 10 quarterbacks, top 10 paid quarterbacks in the NFL right now? The answer may surprise you. We'll be right back.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Phillies sweep the Rockies. I'm Ray Dunn with this Fanatic Sports Update. The Phillies beat the Rockies 2-0 yesterday. Ranger Suarez went 6 2/3, striking out 6, not allowing a run. The win completes a 4-game sweep of the Rockies out in Colorado, and it gives the Phillies a 7-game season sweep of Colorado. It is brutal baseball out there in Denver right now. The Rockies are 8-42 this season, owning the worst Major League Baseball record through 50 games since 1901. For the Phillies, it's 7 straight wins as they now make their way to Sacramento to face a slumping A's team. Zach Wheeler gets the ball for the team at 10:05. First pitch tonight against the A's. OTAs for the Birds start Tuesday, so we'll have plenty of Eagles conversation coming coming up for you. And in the NBA last night, the Oklahoma City Thunder go up 2-0 in the Western Conference Finals. Tonight, it's Knicks-Pacers Game 2. You can listen to that game right here on 97.5 The Fanatic later on tonight. This update is brought to you by the local Ream Pro partners at thereamteam.com. When you want your home to feel like a dream, it has to be Ream. Stay cool with a high-efficiency AC system from Ream. RHEEM. Find your Ream Pro partner at thereamteam.com. I'm Ray Dunn on your home for NBA playoff action, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Today, starting his Memorial Day weekend early, but you got Bill Colarulo and Ray Dunn as always. We got my man Andrew DeCecco with us all 4 hours. And we're a little over 100 days away from opening night against the Dallas Cowboys, and as irony would have it, we're also a little over 100 days since the Eagles hoisted that Lombardi trophy. And Saquon Barkley says yesterday he thinks they were a top 5 team of all time. So we started looking into it. Andrew likes to do his research. I like to do my research. It's a fun conversation to have, man, because there's a lot of facts that would point to the Saquon being right. But then when you bring up some of these other teams throughout the years, man, it is hard to argue with some of these dominant teams. We threw out the 85 Bears, the 72 Dolphins, the 99 Rams, the greatest show on turf, the Legion of Boom in 2013. You threw out the 07 Patriots, even though I eliminated them from my analysis because they didn't win.
And the 2012 Broncos, by the way, who had a much better offense by,
Well, yeah, you had Peyton Manning running that offense, right?
Yeah, look, they had 606 points that they scored on the season, 37.9 per game, and I went through all the numbers. Peyton Manning had 5,500 yards passing, 55 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. He had Eric Decker, he had Demaryius Thomas, Julius Thomas, Wes Welker. No, Sean Moreno had 1,000 yards. Then they laid an egg in the Super Bowl, but that's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about the regular season.
They didn't win the Super Bowl. That's all that matters. In my opinion, you can't be considered one of the best teams in the history of the league.
You didn't lead with that when you were laying out the conversation. You didn't set the table and just use that as a primary criteria.
Listen, you can have your criteria. My criteria, you're not a champion. You can't be considered as the best.
I'm not erasing the stats. The stats are forever.
We don't look at
That's a good
stats.
season.
They don't hang banners at Lincoln Financial Field for stats.
Right. What do you got on this?
Phil, I'm curious. Prior to the 2024 Eagles, who is the best Eagles team of all time in your opinion?
You may win this one because I'll probably say the 04 Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, look at this
so
guy.
now how do you put the two against one another?
Well, look, yeah, you're probably right. If you went head-to-head, 04 Philadelphia Eagles against, let's say, that 2017 team that won the Super Bowl, I would have taken the 04 Philadelphia Eagles on the field. But when we take a step back as fans and analysts and you say, greatest team in the history of the Philadelphia Eagles franchise, in the Super Bowl era, let's limit it to that because I know the 1960 team, you may have some old-timers saying
49 team's really a favorite of mine.
Yeah, you may have some old-timers who remember that. But I think people remember the champions the most. So when I'm doing the analysis of the best teams in NFL history, I think you have to look at just the Super Bowl champs. But look, Andrew's taken his opinion. I've made mine. We haven't heard from Ray. Would you say that you agree with Saquon, top 5 team of all time?
No, I don't. Listen, this team was awesome, and I don't want to take anything away from this team. They gave me a parade. We had all the best times in the world leading up to it. But come on. Like it's tough to go amongst eras. Like, I feel like, and this is a conversation I know has been had on the chat board, I know a lot of people are having right now, surrounding, like, looking at different eras of the NFL. If you scaled for size, like, what the athlete today is versus what the athlete was in the 70s and the 80s, and you actually gave them a fighting chance in the 21st century, then yeah, some of those teams I think are more complete than what you got with this team. It's not to take anything away again from this team. This team found a great run pretty much at the perfect time, but that dominant performance in the NFC Championship game, the dominant performance in the Super Bowl, they turned it up, they dialed it up at just the right time. They were dominant from the bye week on, but
it was 17 games.
It was.
When you say they turned it on at the right time, you're talking about 17 straight games?
But like we love how dominant they were in the Super Bowl, how dominant they were in the NFC Championship game. Yes, they had the big lead against the Rams. They did turn it off, and the Rams were right there at the end of that game. The Packers game, none of us left that game saying this team is thoroughly dominant. We said, okay, they were able to finish their way through that game.
The Browns game?
They put together a really good season. You should not be sitting here critiquing the fact that they won games in a close way. But when we talk about top 5 team of all times, there have been other teams that have been better at taking the lunch money of their opponent than this team.
All right, serious question for you and Andrew.
Yeah.
Why do you hate the 2024 Eagles?
There you go.
Why do you guys hate the Philadelphia Eagles?
Listen,
what's going on with you two?
You got a problem with Bryce Harper. You're not pandering to our audience.
They just won the Super Bowl. You guys hate them.
Yeah, now you're pandering.
Well, look, talking about
Billy Nuance.
Yeah, right? I'm going to get to the text board in a second, Ray, but I want to take a look at this because when we talk about the 24 Eagles, you obviously got to look at the quarterback, Jalen Hurts, winning the Super Bowl MVP. Wasn't always I was going to say easiest season for Jalen, but that was mainly because he was
the main thing.
Because he was a talking point all year because the passing offense wasn't necessarily dominating games. It was more the rushing attack. But when you needed Jalen, he showed up in a big way. We saw it in the regular season against the Steelers when they had to lean on the passing game. They were able to. We saw it in the playoffs. especially in that Super Bowl. The Chiefs did a hell of a job trying to take Saquon out of that game. Jalen had to win with his arm, and he proved that he could. But when he got this contract extension a couple years ago, he became the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. $255 million. There were some who debated, did they give it to him too soon? He only had one good season. Now you look at that contract, and I asked the question, is it the best bargain going in the NFL right now? Because let's take a look at the highest paid quarterbacks in the league. Jalen Hurts, in terms of annual value, is 11th. The top 10 paid quarterbacks. Andrew knows the answer, so I'm going to ask Ray. Do you know how many Super Bowls combined the top 10 paid quarterbacks in the National Football League have won?
Have won. Well, Mahomes isn't in there, so that eliminates a ton of them.
Correct.
Hurts isn't in there, so that eliminates at least this past one.
Yeah, Hurts is 11th, and Patrick Mahomes, I think, is 14th in terms of annual value.
Am I willing to say 0?
You are correct.
0.
Wow.
The top highest paid quarterbacks, top 10 highest paid, have 0 Super Bowl wins. And combined between all 10, they have 3 Super Bowl appearances. Burrow went to 1. Goff went to 1. Not with the Lions, though, with the Rams. And Purdy went to 1 with the 49ers. All 3 of them lost. So now we look at this Jalen Hurts contract, man.
It's a bargain.
Who would have thought that? I mean, you looked at it at the time. Howie Roseman knew it. That's why he paid him so early. But you look at he's got a bargain contract. It's crazy.
I think you have to give Howie Roseman credit for having the foresight and the sort of projecting what Jalen Hurts was going to be and really betting on his guy and getting ahead of things. And now you look at he's a steal. He's the 11th highest paid quarterback. And you have to wonder if that deal is going to have to be reworked at some point now when you look at all these other guys. But, yeah, I mean, Jalen's going to keep checking off the boxes, man. I think that the Eagles are going to look back on that and say, yeah, we got ahead of it. And that's really how Howie's operated throughout his whole tenure.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, man. It really is. Ray, what do we got on the text board on this? I know a lot of people are weighing in, not about Jalen, but about the 2024 Eagles being top 5 all time, according to Saquon.
Tommy from Philly answers your question with a question. How many all-time teams would the Eagles be favored against if they met in the Super Bowl? Maybe this helps decide the argument.
How many would they be favored against? See, this is, again, now brings us back to what we were talking about a little earlier. It's hard to have the analysis of head-to-head matchups because
of the different eras.
Yeah, I think the 2024 Eagles would dominate the 72 Dolphins. I think the 2024 Eagles, people may disagree with me here, and maybe this is just because I was too young to really remember them, but the 85 Bears, as amazing as they were, and I would probably put them as the greatest team, at least in the top 2 or 3 of all time.
You left a little cliffhanger there.
Yeah, top 2 or 3. But I think the Eagles, like the modern athlete going up against that 1985 team, oh, man, I don't know. Like I'm saying the Eagles would dominate, but you got Walter Payton on that team.
That's what I'm saying, man. That's the 46 defense. Buddy Ryan architected it.
I just look at Jim McMahon. How the hell did Jim McMahon go undefeated as a quarterback? Because Steve Fuller lost the only game for them. Jim McMahon was undefeated. Jim McMahon, undefeated.
Yeah, even a garbage can gets a steak. Remember that.
Oh, man, that's what makes this conversation so difficult. I don't know. I think the Eagles will be favored against a lot of these damn teams, man.
Yeah, a lot, but not all.
A lot, but not all, but top 5? Top 5?
Yeah, but your argument was best ever.
I'm saying top 5. I'm not saying necessarily best
look at
ever.
It, Ray, we're talking them off.
No, I never said
we'll have
best
them
ever.
top 20 by the end of the show. Don't you worry to check over.
I said based off of the stats that I laid out on what this team did. And it's not just stats. I saw someone in the YouTube chat saying, Bill just made his argument with stats, but then says stats don't get you a banner. My stats are based off of wins.
I think that's an astute comment, a shrewd comment from the YouTube chat.
The Checo, welcome to the resistance.
I love it.
Time to take down Bill.
My YouTube chat, they're my peeps. Don't be trying to pander to them, Andrew Checo.
Well, they're smart. They know what's right.
Yeah. So as we're having this conversation, and we are going to turn this focus to how this affects the 2025 Philadelphia Eagles, too, because I want to look at the differences with this 2025 team and how they can evolve. Because when we heard from Sirianni, Hurts, and A.J. Brown earlier in the week, they all talked about evolving. So we'll talk about that. But we just mentioned Jalen Hurts' contract, and is it one of the best bargains in sports? The guy he throws to, A.J. Brown. I know that we appreciate A.J., but Ray sent me a video the other day about A.J. Brown from Pro Football Focus. maybe we don't appreciate A.J. Brown as much as we should. So I'm going to play that audio for you coming up next, and we'll talk a little bit about my man A.J. Brown. Keep it right here.
We want to hear from you. So text us at 610-632.
This one for like a little bit closer to the end of the show. This is like getting down the shore, fist bumping Jersey
This is
Shore
like
action.
pulsations.
Oh, you know it's going to be up in the North Jersey Shore. Fist bumping's going on all weekend long.
Seaside Heights.
Ray Dunn will be down in Wildwood tonight.
I
Whoa.
cannot wait.
Yeah, Ray's going to Wildwood. I'll be down in Ocean City. So hopefully we'll run into some people down the shore.
I'll be working.
The unofficial start of summer, Memorial Day weekend. And that's
I can
why
tell you where you're going to find me.
I know where I'm going to find you.
Inlet, Keenan's. Stop by.
as
Say
you
hi.
should.
I'll be
You'll just-
wandering around.
You'll see some young kids stumbling around North Wildwood. That's Ray Dunn.
I got the beard back. I
Fair.
don't look like a young kid anymore.
Yeah, maybe you won't get ID'd everywhere you
no,
go.
I will. Still will.
So we're having fun today because it is the Friday before Memorial Day weekend, and we're having fun by looking back at the 2024 Philadelphia Eagles because Saquon Barkley said top 5 team of all time, and for whatever reason, Ray Dunn, Andrew DeCecco hate the 2024 Eagles and would not put them in the top 5.
And real quick, our guy John Kincade texted in and he said the Eagles weren't even favored in this Super Bowl.
Yeah, how did that work out?
Well, I'm just saying.
Wasn't it 40-3 at one point?
It was. I was there. Yes, it was.
That's proving my point how dominant this team was. They weren't even favored, and they crushed the Kansas City Chiefs. It wasn't even close.
But it just goes to show you that they weren't even overwhelming favorites. They weren't favorites at all. So it's not as obvious as what you're making it seem.
Top 5. Top 5 of all
now
time.
You're moving the goalpost.
Top 5 of all time. We do want to hear from you on that, though. 610-632-0975. You could call, you could text. You could also go to 97.5 The Fanatics Twitter account because we put this poll up, and I'm curious. We'll get those numbers a little bit later. But as we look at the 2024 Philadelphia Eagles, we talked about Jalen Hurts. I said something about A.J. Brown because he's sometimes a little bit of a polarizing figure for whatever reason. He's been the subject of made-up trade rumors by people who love to just create topics that have no relevance at all. Mm-hmm. So he's been the subject of that a few times, but he has been a little bit polarizing. We appreciate him. We know he's a good wide receiver. Has the record for the most yards in a regular season, number 1 and number 2 in franchise history. But when we talk about AJ, we don't always necessarily say best wide receiver in the NFL. Like, we can make the argument, is he the best wide receiver in franchise history, but best in the NFL? Well, Pro Football Focus, and some of the things they put out I take with a grain of salt. I don't always agree with Pro Football Focus. But Ray sent me this video the other day of them making a case for AJ being the best receiver in the whole league. Listen to this.
I have A.J. Brown as the best wide receiver in the NFL. From a 3-year sample size, A.J. Brown is the highest graded wide receiver that we have amongst these 3. When you look at his overall receiving yard, Jamar Chase has actually played 350 more receiving snaps, and yet A.J. Brown has more receiving yards than he does at over 4,100, and Jamar Chase has just over 4,000. So he beats him in receiving yards there. Yards per reception, A.J. Brown is number 1 amongst these 3 wide receivers at a 15.1. Receiving touchdowns, yes, Jamar Chase is higher, but A.J. Brown is second in front of Justin Jefferson with 25 compared to Justin Jefferson's 23. When you look at total drop passes over the last 3 years of these 3 wide receivers, A.J. Brown has the least. Yards per route run, A.J. Brown has the most of these 3 wide receivers at 2.57. And then when you look at average depth of target, still 12.7. A.J. Brown, once again, number 1. And then forced missed tackles per reception, A.J. Brown, number 1 amongst these 3 wide receivers at 55. So the 3-year sample size is totally there in A.J. Brown's favor. A.J. Brown, number 1 amongst these 3 wide receivers just last year in total receiving grade at a 91.6.
Wow. So that's Pro Football Focus making the case that A.J. Brown, with his 3-year sample size with the Philadelphia Eagles, best receiver in the National Football League. Now, I love A.J. Brown, man. I whenever those stupid trade rumors get created for content from people looking for content, I always push back on it. It's ridiculous. But as much as I love AJ, I still think that I'm putting Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase above him. It's not by much. It's not by much. And this isn't a slight on AJ Brown. I'm not saying that I would ever not want him to be a Philadelphia Eagle. He adds so much. He also blocks in the running game and all that. I just can't put – I heard all those numbers. I can't put him above Jamar and Justin Jefferson. And where are you on that?
I put the analytics aside. I've been on the record by saying that A.J. Brown, in my opinion, is the best player on the Philadelphia Eagles. And maybe, my opinion is skewed because I see A.J. every day at practice. But I do believe that A.J. Brown is the best wide receiver in the NFL. A 3-level threat. He's extremely physical after the catch. He can break tackles. He's effective in the running game. You look at he's on a Hall of Fame trajectory right now. And aside from the Eagles' records that he holds, I think that he imposes his will on every corner that he lines up against. Whether you line him up inside or outside, he's going to win his matchup. He's very good at attacking the football, attacking the catch point, and he bullies defensive backs. They look actually afraid to go against him. So I think A.J. Brown is the best receiver in the NFL.
Yeah, look, man, it's hard to disagree. You talk about the eye test and all that. That's why, for me, I look at Justin Jefferson and what he's done really with quarterbacks that I would consider subpar quarterbacks. I mean, Justin Jefferson's doing it with Sam Darnold. He did it with Kirk Cousins. I mean, he was even doing it with Josh Dobbs a little bit. You know?
But AJ was doing. I hear you. AJ was doing it though with the Titans as well, and I think that you could put any. I mean, AJ would put up numbers with any quarterback. He's that good.
Yeah, and AJ's 3 years with the Titans. Rookie year, little over 1,000 yards. In 2020, only played 14 games, went over 1,000. 2021 played 13 games, only 869 yards. Where his production exploded was his first year in Philadelphia. He goes for close to 1,500 yards. So I get it. Yeah, he was doing it in Tennessee with a subpar quarterback, but nowhere near the numbers he's doing with Jalen Hurts. And when we talked about Jalen Hurts having a bargain contract, AJ, 5th highest paid. So Chase, Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb. See, CeeDee Lamb's another guy we may have to put in the top.
He should be mentioned in there, but I just think A.J. Brown is tremendous, and he could just win in a multitude of ways. He's pretty much unguardable.
You know who else makes more than A.J. Brown in terms of average per year?
How much?
DK Metcalf.
DK Metcalf, he was teammates with A.J. Brown.
In college?
At Ole Miss, yeah.
Could you imagine those two beasts on the field in college? I remember seeing some highlights. DK Metcalf and A.J. Brown, those are some tough receivers to have to go up against. But look, I want to bring this. We're going to continue to get to your texts about whether or not the 2024 Eagles are a top 5 team of all time. So I want to hear from you on that, 610-632-0975. But I want to take a look forward as well, because it's fun to relive the past. But I know everybody cares more about what's next. A lot of people, what's next? AJ, Jalen, and Sirianni all spoke this week, and I thought they said some really interesting things about what the 2025 Philadelphia Eagles and specifically the offense could look like. So I'm going to play that audio for you coming up. AJ, Jalen, and Sirianni. Keep it right here.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Phillies sweep the Rockies. I'm Ray Dunn with this Fanatic Sports Update. The Phillies beat the Rockies 2-0 yesterday. Ranger Suarez going 6 2/3, striking out 6, not allowing a run. The win completes a 4-game sweep of the Rockies, and the Phillies now get a 7-game season sweep of Colorado. They go 7-0 against the Rockies. They have 7 wins against the Rockies this season. The Rockies have 8 wins on the season. 8-42 through 50 games. That's the worst Major League Baseball record through 50 games since 1901 for the Phillies. It's 7 straight wins as they now make their way to Sacramento to face a slumping A's team. Zach Wheeler gets the ball first pitch tonight, 10:05 out in Sacramento. OTAs start for the Birds on Tuesday, so plenty of conversation around that as we continue to get through the offseason in the NFL. As for the NBA, deep into the postseason at this point, the Thunder last night going up 2-0 in the Western Conference Finals. The Pacers and Knicks, Game 2 tonight. Can the Pacers take both up in New York? Stay tuned for that. We'll have that for you later today on The Fanatic. This update is brought to you by Mercedes-Benz. The Mercedes-Benz Dream Days are back with offers of vehicles like 2025 E-Class, CLE Coupe, C-Class, and EQE Sedan. Hurry in now through July 31st. Learn more at MBUSA.com/dream. I'm Ray Dunn on your home for NBA playoff action, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Before the break, we were talking about A.J. Brown. You said he's on a Hall of Fame trajectory.
Yeah.
And it had me thinking about something during the break. How many Philadelphia Eagles on the roster right now would you say are on a Hall of Fame trajectory? Now, some may laugh. The head coach is on a Hall of Fame trajectory.
No, I agree.
Nick Sirianni is on a Hall of Fame trajectory. It's crazy. You may think he's a clown. People may still not be all bought in. What he's done through his first 4 seasons is insane. He's on a Hall of Fame trajectory. Jalen Hurts is on a Hall of Fame trajectory.
A.J. Brown and Lane Johnson.
A.J., Lane. And like we don't know, some of these younger guys, but those 4 are the names that came to mind for me are on Hall of Fame trajectories. Anybody else on this team right now? Look, you never know with Mailata and Landon Dickerson.
I think it's too early to say that for Saquon.
Oh, interesting. The Saquon Barkley. His name didn't even pop in my mind. See, those years with New York didn't help his case.
No. And obviously the 2,000-yard season's fresh in everyone's minds, but I don't think that hasn't been who he was throughout his whole career. And what is he, 27, 28?
Saquon.
He's going to need like 2 or 3 really strong years to make a case.
Yeah, he turned 28 the day of the Super Bowl, if you remember.
That's right. Okay. Yeah. It was always Saquon Barkley and Andre Sam, too. Let's not forget Andre Sam on the practice squad.
That's what everybody was thinking about on Super Bowl Sunday was Andre Sam.
It was his birthday. So
it was his birthday.
Cooper DeJean, too, if you want to throw that in.
Well, as you mentioned Saquon, he's really our jumping off point today because he said something pretty bold yesterday on a podcast with Cooper DeJean and Reed Blankenship that this is a top 5 team of all time when you look at the 2024 Philadelphia Eagles. We kind of made our cases. I said I do think they're top 5. You and Ray seem to think it's just recency bias. Well, I want to go to the phones because Aaron from Lansdale wants to weigh in on this conversation. Aaron, what's going on, my brother? You're on the Fanatic.
Hey, guys. Good morning.
Hey, Aaron. Good morning.
Memorial Day weekend.
Same to you.
Yeah, there's really good conversation we're having on this. Actually, kind of what you brought up just now about the Hall of Fame trajectory is kind of why I'm going to be on the fence of it's a little too early. But it's not because I don't think that they aren't. I just think the historical context matters when you're having this conversation on the greatest teams of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but the thing is, Aaron, like when we're talking about the greatest teams, it's that individual season. So, like when we talk about dynasties and things like that, you're right. It may be too early to talk about this Eagles team generally as a dynasty. But when you look at the individual seasons, because we all know every single year the teams change. You're going to go through attrition. You're going to have changes to coaching staff. Exactly what the Eagles are dealing with. They lost players on the defense. They lost their offensive coordinator again. When you look at it just through the lens of one individual season, that's where I put the 2024 Eagles in the top 5.
Okay, I mean, that's a fair way to look at it. Yeah, as far as like, did you win the Super Bowl? How did your team perform as far as the metrics and then obviously wins and everything like that? But I think it's just saying historical context when comparing other teams. I think the best example, just really quickly, is 2002. We played the Buccaneers. At that point, I was a kid. We were all thinking we should have won that game. I don't know how we lost this, that, and the third. But now you look back on it and you look at that Buccaneers defense. They had 5 Hall of Famers on it, and we had a third-year McNabb going with the James Thrash and Todd Pinkston. So, at the moment, it was like we should have beaten the Bucs, this, that, and the third. 20 years later, in hindsight, that's one of the best defenses of all time, because those guys end up having Hall of Fame careers or whatnot. That's kind of what I'm saying. But I know what you mean, too, as far as, like the looking at one season as a snapshot. But I think the historical context, when you're going to compare the Eagles to all the other Super Bowl greats, will be like how many Hall of Famers, how many All-Pros, were on that team, too.
Aaron's on point, man.
Yeah, he's on point. But the only thing he's not on point with is I said I wanted to have fun today looking back. And he brings up the 2002 Bucs. I mean, my God.
Well, I'm sorry it doesn't fit your narrative
gut
here.
Punch, man. I still have nightmares of Rondé Barber returning that interception the other way in the last game ever at Veterans Stadium.
Well, I'm sorry that doesn't fit your narrative there, Bill.
Oh, man. It's terrible. But I understand Aaron's point when you look back, because the Eagles were supposed to dominate that team, and now when you look back at the 0-2 Bucs and that defense, they did have a lot of good players. I've brought this up before. Everyone remembers Mike Mamula and the Philadelphia Eagles falling in love with him after his combine performance. I'm going to tell you that story in a second because you're listening to the WPEN HD1 Burlington, Philadelphia, Beasley Media Group station, broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studio, powering possibilities. We all remember they fell in love with Mike Mamula at the combine. They trade up to get him. Well, they trade up to get him with the Bucs. and they gave up their first-round pick and a second-round pick that the Bucs turned into Warren Sapp and Derek Brooks.
Right.
So even more
a
salt.
couple Hall of Famers,
Even more salt into the wound there. So, Ray, this conversation, though, about top 5 of all time, I know we got a lot of people weighing in on the text board, and we also put up that Twitter poll. Where's the Twitter poll at on this?
The Twitter poll right now is not too far off of where it was earlier, but for those who are just checking in, at 975, the Fanatic, Saquon Barkley said that the 2024 Eagles were a top 5 all-time team in the NFL. Do you agree with Saquon? 68% of the vote, yes, they are top 5. 20% of the vote, about 21% of the vote, saying that no, they are top 10. And 11% saying no, just recency bias. So 1 out of every 10 Philadelphians believes that this is not a top 10 team all time.
And somehow, I'm stuck with 2 of them on this show. 1 out of 10, and we got 2 out of 3 on this show aren't agreeing that this is at least a top 10 team. You guys aren't even putting them in the top 10? Would you go top 10 with me of all time?
Just off the cuff, I can't say that without looking at the other teams and looking at things objectively. So I can't
using your word against you there.
I can't quite go there yet without really looking into it.
If he hits me with a "you're not wrong," I'm out of here.
Don't
you
worry,
guys are going to have an objective off.
Yeah. Don't worry, you're not wrong. It's coming.
All right, what do we got on the text board on this, Ray?
All right, so Sean in Downingtown here with an interesting twist on this one. It's not about the stats, but of all those teams mentioned, except for the recent ones, how many of them were drug tested after every game?
Talking about steroid usage and all that stuff?
Apparently, that's where Sean wants to take this. This is the cleanest team of all time.
The cleanest team. Look, again, when we talk about PTSD, we're still recovering from the Alvarado news. So I don't know if I want to touch the PEDs conversation.
Too soon.
Yeah, why is that? See, one of the teams that neither of us mentioned, we talked about the 85 Bears. We talked about the 49ers teams in the 80s, the Dolphins in the 70s. You brought up the Broncos in the 2010s, the Legion of Boom. I know we're Philadelphia radio, but when we're talking about some of the greatest teams of all time,
92 Cowboys?
Those Cowboys teams, man. Those 90s Cowboys teams were pretty dominant.
And Frank in Harrisburg actually wants to take you back to Roger Staubach and those Cowboys teams. But he does it in a way, say they go to multiple playoff appearances, win 2 Super Bowls. And it's interesting off of that last call, how much will you take the rest of this Eagles run to throw it into the mix of how dominant this 2024 team was? Because I think that's a question now popping up on the text line because people keep referencing multiple seasons of teams making runs and funneling it into the best team that was that organization fielded in that stretch.
Yeah, see, that's why you got to try to look at it for each individual season because the teams are just so different. They're just so different. Like when we look at the 2024 Eagles, and we're going to do this coming up where, well, how do they evolve in 2025? I know the offense is relatively the same outside of the right guard position, but this defense is going to look a lot different. You don't have Darius Slay. You don't have Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. We don't have Brandon Graham. We don't have Josh Sweat. You don't have Milton Williams. So it's hard to look at what this 2025 team does, and we'll talk about it because I think they're still going to be very good. But we can't look at what they do in 2025 and say, you see, 2024, they weren't as good as we thought. No, it's a different team.
No, I agree with that. You're talking about individual seasons, and that's what we're really basing it off of when we go through the 72 Dolphins, 85 Bears, 98 Broncos, 92 Cowboys. We're talking about individual seasons. I don't think you can take runs into it, but yeah, I don't think you're going to win this one, Bill.
Maybe not.
It sounds like folks are siding with Ray and I.
I will say the top 5 thing, if there's one thing that this has crystallized in terms of general manager work, and I don't think this is a scorching take by any means, but given the salary cap complications that some teams did not have before for Howie Roseman, this is easily a top 5, if not a top 3 job by a general manager in terms of assembling something. When you look at some of the dominant teams we talk about, they had quarterbacks that were on rookie contracts, quarterbacks that were not necessarily paid to this level in a salary cap league to develop the team they did. He gets a top 5 season, if not more than that, for 100%. This past year.
I totally agree with that.
Yeah, what he's done in the salary cap era is pretty unheard of. I mean, I was looking at some of these numbers before for him. Like, Roseman is the 12th general manager to build 3 Super Bowl teams and win 2 championships with 1 franchise. And how many of these other guys did it in the salary cap era? You're talking about Belichick, who was also the coach, John Beek, Al Davis, Tex Schramm, John McKay, Art Rooney. Now you got Brett Veach is doing it with the Chiefs. Bobby Beathard, Kevin Colbert, Jerry Jones, and Don Shula. Now, Jerry Jones did it in the 90s.
Yeah,
he gets credit for it, but it was Jimmy Johnson. So it's interesting, man. You're right. What Howie Roseman has done may be the most impressive thing ever, and he also is doing it with different head coaches and different quarterbacks.
Yes,
but
that's another qualifier.
before we go to what's next and how they evolve, I want to go back to the phones because Howard has an opinion about this conversation of top 5. Howard from Douglasville. What's up, Howard? You're on the Fanatic.
Good. Yeah, so you stole my thunder a little bit for Dallas. And I don't try to give Dallas any credit at all. But those Jimmy Johnson teams were pretty phenomenal. And the Steelers back in the Bradshaw days. I just don't think you can. The eras are so different, plus with salary cap, plus with free agency. It's so different. Back in the 60s, 70s, early 80s, you could build those teams and not worried about losing, guys to free agency. You would just re-sign them again. So it's completely different. But
yeah, salary cap changes every. I mean, it's a good point. It is tough to compare eras because of the salary cap, because of the changes. Also, the changes in the rules. We know it's a little bit more offensive now than it used to be. There's all those things. But now you also wanted to weigh in. I threw out something earlier that today's the 45th anniversary of The Shining being released. And I said, hey, anybody else have some good horror movies? And you got maybe one of my favorites. I see it on the board here.
Oh, it's The Exorcist.
Yeah, The Exorcist, Howard says. Man, that movie I still have nightmares about, dude.
That's a good one. I
to
like
me,
that
that's
movie
the
a lot.
scariest movie of all time.
Scariest movie of all time.
Scariest movie of all time.
The Ring. You ever see The Ring?
I did, but when you walk in the room and Linda Blair's head starts spinning around, dude, I'm getting goosebumps now. Just
Hold on. I got a whole bunch more later.
All right, well, we'll get into more horror movies coming up, but I also want to take this conversation and look towards the future. I teased a little earlier talking about how this offense, mainly this offense, can evolve in 2025. AJ talked about it. Hurts talked about it. Nick Sirianni talked about it. We're going to play that audio for you, and we're going to talk about it coming up next.
Jalen Hurts.
First and foremost, congratulations.
Oh, Ray is in full Memorial Day weekend mode already with this music.
I think of the Sandlot when I hear this. When they're on the roller coaster.
I remember.
Or no, the merry-go-round.
The merry-go-round, yeah. Sandlot's an overrated movie, but that's a whole other conversation right there.
I agree
You
with
bite
you.
your tongue. Both of you in there.
I agree.
I'll fight both of you.
Rookie of the Year is better.
Rookie of the Year is great. So is Little Big League.
Henry Rowan Gardner, yeah.
But, yeah, overrated. But that's not what we're doing today. No Mikey Miss. Mike's off today, starting his weekend early. You got Andrew DeCecco in here with me and Ray. And Saquon said something yesterday about the Eagles being a top 5 team of all time. So we've been talking about that a lot. But I want to change the focus a little bit. If the 2024 Eagles were, in fact, top 5 of all time, even if they weren't, what does it matter? They won the Super Bowl. And now we look forward to, well, how can they do it again? And they don't even have to be as dominant as that 2024 team was to still win a damn Super Bowl. They don't have to win 18 games. You just need to win your last one in the playoffs. But something that was kind of the topic all season long, and whether it was fair or not, we kept talking about this offense, right? Was there a problem with the passing game? A.J. Brown admitted it during the regular season. After that Carolina game where they almost lost, what's the issue? He says, the passing game. And when you look at the final numbers, as dominant as the 24 Eagles were, their passing game wasn't. They were 29th in terms of yards. Now, a lot of that was intentional because they were also 32nd in pass attempts. But as we come back this year and they make their efforts to try to repeat as champions, I don't think you can be the 29th ranked passing offense this season, knowing what we know about the history in the NFL, with Saquon Barkley having all those touches last year. History's not on his side to be able to do it again. So I think the offense needs to evolve. But clearly, so do the Philadelphia Eagles. So A.J. Brown was the first one to speak to the media on Tuesday, and he was asked about this offense coming up in 2025. This was A.J. Brown.
I can't predict how the offense will look next year, but I do know we have to evolve as a team, evolve as an offense, and I think that's a question for KP, honestly. And for me, my job is just to focus on whenever I get those opportunities, just make the most of them. And that's pretty much, that's my box. That's the box I'm going to stay in.
So A.J., I think, is starting to learn the Philly media, right? He tries not to say anything that's going to blow up anymore. But he does say the offense needs to evolve. He said that's a question for KP, talking about new offensive coordinator Kevin Patullo. You watch a lot of film. I mean, a lot of people come on the air and they're like, oh, I was watching film, and they're full of it. I know you actually do watch a lot of film. How can this offense evolve in 2025 with very similar personnel?
Well, it sounds simplistic, Bill, but the passing game. I would like to see more advanced route concepts, some more razzle-dazzle, meaning some more, eye candy, be a little bit more deceptive, and you want to see that pre-snap motion. You see it occasionally, but you don't see it nearly enough for what I was expecting to see with Kellen Moore. And Kevin Patullo was the pass game coordinator for a number of years here in Philadelphia, so I'm curious to see if that passing game does, in fact, evolve with him at the helm, and I think it will, because it never became a topic of conversation because they were so dominant with Saquon Barkley, but Saquon Barkley's not going to run for 2,000 yards again. So this is where the passing you have to have more of a balanced attack, and I think they're going to.
Yeah, and I know there are still some people out there who may question Jalen Hurts' ability in the passing game. If you are someone who's still questioning it, I don't think you watched the Super Bowl because he won that game with his arm because the Chiefs made that concerted effort to take away the run. But I also still go back to the 2022 season. Shane Steichen was obviously the offensive coordinator, but that year they were 23rd in passing attempts. 23rd. So they weren't throwing the ball a lot. They finished top 10 in terms of passing yards. They were number 9. So I don't think you need to completely revamp your offense and go pass heavy to still be effective. You saw it. 23rd in passing attempts back in 22, but being a top 10 passing yards offense, that to me kind of the sweet spot for this team. Mm-hmm. I don't want them to be 32nd in passing attempts like they were this season because I don't want to put that much on Saquon Barkley again because of injury risk and all that. But that's kind of the healthy balance right there. Is yes, I still would like them to be a run-heavy team, still take advantage of Saquon. I know you really like Will Shipley. Hopefully he's going to take a step forward.
RB2.
They brought in A.J. Dillon. Now, you're not as high on A.J. Dillon as some.
No, I'm not. Anytime you have a player who missed a year, especially with a neck injury, you have to be a little bit cautious as to putting his name and pen on the 53-man roster. You have to wait and see how he's how he performs. And his skill set's kind of redundant to Saquon. And what I mean by that is he's more between the tackles runner, and Will Shipley's a better change-up runner. He's an explosive, dynamic player who can catch the football a little bit. My understanding is the Eagles were really happy with his development behind the scenes. And to kind of piggyback off of what you were saying as well, remember back to 2022, the Eagles took a lot more deep shots.
They did.
And the offense last year, to me, when they did go to the air, was very compressed. It didn't feel like the whole field was available, and I think that's another area that they can look to improve upon this year with Kevin Patullo.
And again, they're going to have to strike that happy balance, though, because you want to go for those explosive plays in the passing game, but you don't want to turn the ball over. And that was, when we look at the 24 Eagles, the 2-2 start, a lot of the issues were turnovers. Jalen turning the ball over early, he got safer with the football. They started leaning heavily on the run after the bye, and the rest is history. But Jalen was also asked on Tuesday, well, what's the offense going to look like? Another offensive coordinator now. Kellen leaves. Kevin Patullo comes in. You heard A.J. Brown use the word evolve. Listen to Jalen Hurts.
There's some nuances that are different, I know in the past I gave a number, on that matter. But things evolve and things change as time goes on. And so we're just really bought into that. That's an important thing. I think that's something that I've learned as well, is you have to be able to evolve as time goes on. And so, given Coach Kevin Patullo and his new role now, and him being the one in charge of offensive leadership, you get new pieces and new ideas that come from everyone. So. Coach Scott, another new quarterback coach who's been great thus far, and Coach Parks Frazier, who's been great as well. And so it's still early in the process. It's still early in building this team that we want it to be. Ultimately, it'll be a collaborative effort, and it'll take everybody just to be on the same page again to see what the iteration of this team will be.
So you heard Jalen there. He also uses the word evolve like AJ does. And he throws in Scott, the quarterback coach. Was it Leffler? Scott Leffler from Bowling Green that they brought in, right? So Jalen constantly having to, Ray's yelling at Andrew because he forgot to turn his mic on. Ray's making fun of him here. Sometimes Ray turns my mic off, by the way.
Yeah, I'm just going to go with that. He turn my mic off.
If he doesn't like what you're dealing with. So they talk about evolving, which I think will be important. What do you think about the QB coach?
Everything I've heard, he's a film junkie, and he's somebody who gets the most out of the players that he's coaching, and I can't wait to see what he's able to do, especially with Kyle McCord, the rookie, who he offered him a scholarship in 8th grade.
Yeah, you like Kyle McCord. Hopefully we never see him.
Yeah, but I think eventually he can be the long-term number 2.
But with Kevin Patullo, real quick, listen to these stats. If people are worried this is suddenly going to turn into a pass-happy offense, he was the passing game coordinator for 4 seasons. 21, 22, 23, and 24. They were 32nd in pass attempts, 23rd in pass attempts, 21st in passing attempts, 32nd in passing attempts when he was your passing game coordinator. So I'm not expecting them to just suddenly revamp everything and go pass heavy. But like you just heard AJ and Jalen say, just got to evolve it a little bit, put some wrinkles.
You heard Jalen say, decode, detect, correct. That's the new T-shirt probably.
That one and what was the other one? He said a new iteration, Ray? Was that the one?
Iteration was the word he used 25 times.
Yeah, new iteration. New iteration. Look, we'll get back to the Eagles conversation, but I do want to take a little bit of a detour because our Fightin' Phils are on fire, and they just finished up their first 50 games, so we'll take a look back at how this season has gone through the first 50. But I'm also going to tell you why I am not getting too carried away after they just swept the worst team we have seen in Major League Baseball since 1895. We'll talk about the Fightin' Phils coming up next.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Phillies sweep the Rockies. I'm Ray Dunn with this Fanatic Sports Update. The Phillies beat the Rockies 2-0 yesterday. Ranger Suarez went 6 2/3, striking out 6 and not allowing a run. The win completes a 4-game sweep of the Rockies, giving the Phillies a 7-game season sweep of Colorado. The Phillies have won 7 games against the Rockies. The Rockies have won 8 games total this season, 8-42 through their first 50 games of the season. Some brutal baseball out there in Colorado. For the Phillies, it's 7 straight wins as they now make their way to Sacramento to face a slumping A's team. Zach Wheeler gets the ball 10:05 first pitch against the A's tonight. OTAs for the Birds start on Tuesday, so plenty of conversation to come out of the continuing offseason for your Super Bowl champions. And in the postseason in the NBA last night, the Oklahoma City Thunder go up 2-0. Now it's Pacers and Knicks tonight in Game 2. We'll have that live for you right here on 97.5 The Fanatic. This update is brought to you by WhatsApp. On WhatsApp, your personal messages stay private because your personal messages are yours. No one else can see or hear them, not even WhatsApp. WhatsApp, message privately with everyone. I'm Ray Dunn, your home for NBA playoff action, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Got to go check what he's drinking in there. I'm not sure there's water in his glass.
This song's grossly overrated.
Why do you two have the worst takes over the last hour of this show?
I would not say that this
Worst takes.
I agree with Andrew that the Sandlot's overrated. I don't think that that song's overrated because it does just put you instantly in a summer mood.
Immediately, I think I'm on the beach with
Well, good for you.
a certain cerveza next to me. I'm feeling good.
And be careful too, because
you will be on the beach. I will be working this weekend, so maybe that is skewing my my opinion here.
Because this is truly Ray and I's Friday. It is not your Friday because you're on the air tomorrow morning
and Monday.
By the way, if anyone has not tuned in to listen to Andrew DeCecco on Saturday mornings, you are missing out because if you could hear it throughout this show, he's the best Eagles mind we got in this city. It's not even close. And every Saturday morning, Andrew has you from 9 to 12. And they talk all sports, but a lot of Eagles talk, obviously, because you are the best Eagles guy in the city. So make sure you're tuning in every Saturday morning. Listen to Andrew from 9 to 12. And you get a double dose of Andrew because he'll also be doing the morning show on Monday.
That's correct.
Memorial Day from 6 to 10 with Kevin Cooney. So check out my man, Andrew DeCecco. But we're not going to talk Eagles right now. We've been doing a lot of Eagles talk, and we'll get back to that conversation. We still want to hear from you about whether or not the 24 Eagles are a top 5 team of all time. Do you agree with Saquon Barkley on that? Well, let's take a little bit of a detour because the Philadelphia Phillies have been red hot, man. Red hot. They've won 7 straight games. They just finished their 50th game. They are now 32-18, and they have the best record in the National League. And I heard them talking about it on the morning show. It doesn't really feel like that because the fans aren't as buzzing as they've been in previous seasons because of the playoff disappointments. But I want to take a look kind of at what has occurred so far this season. The bats started out a little bit slow, right? You had Alec Boehm started out cold. He's coming around. Even when they started winning games, Bryce Harper wasn't necessarily hitting the ball that well. Well, now he's coming around. Granted, it's been against some pretty bad teams, but he's coming around. I looked at some numbers today. In the month of May, the Phillies are second across all of Major League Baseball in terms of batting average at 280. They're tied for second in on-base percentage at 340, and they're fourth in OPS at 789. And you just heard me say best record in the National League. It's been a pretty good start to the season, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is really right around Memorial Day where I tend to really gauge where this team is. And this is exactly what we were all expecting going into the season. And the missing ingredient was Bryce Harper. And he's starting to come alive. And the pitching's been phenomenal. I think you have to be really excited about the direction of this team at this point in the season.
Yeah, but the reason I'm not getting too excited.
And I know where you're going.
The too excited. Like, I love what they're doing. You can only beat the teams that are in front of you and all that and blah, blah, blah. This Colorado Rockies team that they just swept, to put this into perspective for people, they are 8-42 through 50 games, okay? 8-42, Ray Dunn. That is the worst 50-game start since 1895. So I did some homework this morning. To put that into perspective, 1895. Listen to some of these stats from 1895. The U.S. life expectancy in 1895 was 47 years old. There were more horse-drawn carriages than cars. Only 10% of homes had electricity. The average income per year, $500.
Hey.
Pretty close to Ray Dunn's income. A loaf of bread, 5 cents. A gallon of milk, 28 cents. Dozen eggs, 21 cents. Ray, you could buy a new house for $3,000.
Oh, you're kidding me. I'm paying that rent.
The first movie
I'm not.
Didn't screen until December of 1895. So you couldn't even go to the movies. We're talking about horror movies today.
Wow.
Couldn't even go to the movies. But here's some of my favorites. Cocaine was used as a local anesthetic.
Favorite?
For kids, too, at dentists. Doctors didn't understand germs. They didn't wear gloves. Cigarettes were being advertised as medicine for asthma relief, digestion, and the common cold.
Oh, my gosh.
Indoor plumbing was rare. But then this I do want to bring back. I'm going to make a petition to bring this one back, Ray. Men wore suits everywhere, and a hat was essential. I'm bringing the bowler hat back, dude.
Of course you want the bowler hat.
Yeah,
Come on, man.
No hat, but suit, yes. I like to dress up nice.
But you think about that. I mean, like, I'm being facetious here, but the Colorado Rockies, the last time a team was as bad as this team all that was going on. We were giving cocaine to kids at the dentist. Like that's how bad the Rockies are.
I know, but so you're not giving the Phillies that much credit because of the opposition.
It's not. I don't want to take.
Why do you hate the Phillies?
Yeah, exactly.
What's your deal?
I'm excited for what the Phillies are doing. I think they're a good team. I've been mostly positive about the Phillies more than Mike on this show to start the year. The bullpen's starting to come around. Jordan Romano looks like he's figuring things out. We knew the starting rotation was going to be good, and it is. Even without Aaron Nola performing at a high level, starting rotation is still one of the best in baseball. You saw Ranger last night. Or not last night, I guess that was yesterday afternoon. He throws a gem. And something that Ray wanted to talk about earlier in the week as we talk about that starting rotation, the one area they need help is in the bullpen. Well, you got an abundance of guys in that starting rotation. Could you trade one of those guys, whether it's Ranger Suarez or even Taijuan Walker? Now, the plan is once Nola comes back from the IL, they're going to move Walker back to the bullpen, and the hopes are they're not going to move him out of there, absent injury. But Ray threw out an interesting question. And, Ray, I'll ask you because this is your idea here. Is Taijuan Walker tradable?
Is Taijuan Walker tradable? Is Ranger Suarez tradable? Or are we wasting our time talking about major leaguers when the guy that made his debut on Sunday is the most tradable of the entire group? To me, it's Mick Abel. Of the organizational depth that's most likely to get moved, it's him. I had someone text me the other day about Taijuan Walker, which I'll answer your question to that one. You're going to have to find a team that is both in it and willing to absorb some portion of that salary. They're not getting out of all of it. So your options there tend to be more limited because I think a lot of teams that want to spend that type of money are going to look to this offseason of like, oh, we can really end up getting ourselves a better pitcher in free agency. So we don't really want to take on what would be $18 million next year. And even if you take half of that, that's, $10 million that would be still on your books and counting against you before you even get to next offseason. You would have to be in it thinking you have a chance to win it. And Taijuan Walker is a piece that's going to push you towards wherever you want to be. Which to me right now, no matter what you've seen from him to the start of this season, I don't know how many executives across baseball are going to hang up the phone like, that was a good talk with Dave Dombrowski.
Yeah, I don't see
go down the Taijuan Walker route.
I don't see look, last year we wanted to move on from Taijuan Walker. We were ready to DFA him just because we couldn't watch him pitch anymore. But I agree with you. Is for you to get something of value for Walker, there's going to have to be a team that thinks that they're in it and needs a starting pitcher. You're right. And do they really believe that Walker would be the thing that puts them over the top? And then that contract, it's still a monster. And it's not the final year. You got him next year. But then when you talk about contracts, Ranger could certainly be a guy that a team could look at and say, hey, we need starting pitching. Mm-hmm. He's in the final year of his deal. They may be willing to give up something if they think he puts them over the top with their starting rotation. But Ray's right. Mick Abel's probably your best trade piece right now.
He's not going to have a higher value right now.
No, he wouldn't. But, Ray, would you be willing to part with Mick Abel?
Yeah, for the right price. I mean, I'm not just giving them up to give them up, but
a couple strong arms.
For a really good reliever. Like I know the name that I put. I think that you were referencing when we talked about Abel and talked about the sheet earlier in the week. Felix Bautista was one that just jumped to mind, and I did watch him blow a save the other day against the Brewers, which is hilarious. It was like the day after I put it on the sheet of, would you do that trade?
Well, because the Orioles are a disgrace right now.
Yeah, but he's not. He's not a disgrace, and he's under team control until I think 2027. So you would have him for a few more years. The asking price for them is going to be astronomical. So you could ask yourself the question, why would they part with that arm in the bullpen to begin with? And that's a fair enough question for you to have. But if you're looking at some of these teams that are not good right now, what use do they have for a Ranger Suarez if he's going to walk? So if you're starting to pick from the bad bullpens of the or the bad teams and from their bullpens,
they're going to want to prospect.
Baseball, Mick Abel is a perfect hey, let's get our fan base excited about a young arm that we don't have to pay for another X amount of years.
All right, one more for you, Ray, because Ray really knows his baseball. What if they don't do anything? Like, what if Dombrowski just says, you know what? We know Painter's coming up in June or July. We have an abundance of starting pitching. We only need 4 starters come the postseason anyway. So now your bullpen come October turns into Rangers there, Walker's there. Who's the other guy? I mean, I guess you're still going to go with Nola as one of your starters. Let's hope he figures this out. So your 4 starters would be Wheeler, Luzardo, Nola, Sanchez. I mean, is that enough arms if you don't make a move to just say the answers are coming because of we'll move a couple starters to the pen?
Yeah, no. I need one more. Like, we thought they were one bullpen arm short, and you had this option of moving these guys to the pen anyways.
And we thought we had Alvarado, too.
Right. So, you're not going to be in a good enough spot there. I'm really curious, like, left-handed wise, if they can find someone with, enough, just high-octane stuff. Like, they just don't have a fireballer from the left side right now. That's what they had in Alvarado. Ranger, even if you max him out, he's not getting anywhere close to what you were getting on average from Alvarado. He seems like the most likely candidate to make that move, but watch yesterday and tell me that right now you want to take him out of that rotation. I don't.
No, you certainly don't want to do it yet. And then there's another option here, too. I mean, they could go a million ways. You mentioned Mick Abel as a trade piece. When Abel's throwing 99, why can't you put him in the pen?
You're not putting him in the pen until you exhaust your options at the deadline.
That's like a last resort.
Last resort. Like, I don't want to put Painter in the pen because of the Tommy John, and I don't want to expose him to that many days pitching and all that. But with Mick Abel, when he's throwing that type of heat, if you can't get anybody better at the deadline, maybe he's the answer.
Yeah, it's not a bad option. Worst case.
All right, we'll continue some Phillies conversation. I do want to jump back into our Eagles talk, though, because we were talking about how the 25 Eagles can repeat and what they need to do on offense in terms of evolving and all that. I was reading an article this morning ranking the divisions in the NFL and which ones are going to be the toughest. And I don't necessarily agree with where they have the NFC East ranked because I think the NFC East is going to be pretty tough. So I want to ask Andrew, get your opinion on how tough that division is going to be. We'll talk about that coming up after this.
Friday, May 23rd.
Start to the summer. We got Memorial Day weekend coming up. A lot of people probably already starting their weekend. On Friday, headed down the shore. If you're listening to us and you're on the radio and you're on the expressway headed down, at a certain point you may lose the signal. That's when you turn it over and you just get to stream. You just say play 97.5 The Fanatic. You got it on your phone. You can put it on YouTube and run it through your Bluetooth in your car. You can listen to us all the way down, even if you're going all the way to Cape May. Just listen on the stream. That's what Ray Dunn's going to do after the show on his way to North Wildwood.
Go ahead, Andrew. You want to tell the story? I'm sure you want to. Go right ahead. Tell the story.
Ray was listening to my weekend show, and I had a topic where we were picking our walk-up songs. Ray texted me, and then there was a while where he didn't listen to the rest of the show. He goes, I lost service. I was at I think, you don't have the app?
Yeah,
I thought you were.
That's a terrible excuse.
I'm driving a 2002 Toyota Avalon. I can't plug it in anywhere.
You don't have Bluetooth in that car?
No.
Well, you didn't say that. I was like, Ray Dunn's usually a foxhole guy.
How many miles on that Toyota?
160,000. Yeah.
Those are reliable cars.
It really is a reliable. I mean, aside from the bill I paid for it like a month or two ago, but mostly reliable. Yeah, pretty great.
Did I remember that story correctly?
You did. Yeah, I knew as soon as you said the app, you're gonna be like, I went to DC. All right.
I looked at you, my eyes got all big. I was like, yeah.
At some point, you lose the signal. I wanted to support. I listened all the way there. I was listening basically until I could only hear every third word you were saying.
But
well, I appreciate the support.
Yeah.
And, I'm back on Saturdays 9 to 12. Bring it to the beach with you.
For sure. You know my family is a big Andrew Checo fans. We'll have it on in the, I'm sure, inside the house.
And I'm a big fan of the Dunns. How about that?
That's right. And Ray Dunn's headed down the Wildwood. And if you're headed down the shore, I got to tell you about our deal of the week, because this is this week's big friggin' deal. And that's written in the copy. That's not me. That's a big friggin' deal.
Oh, no, I know. Oh, yeah.
It really is, though. This is an incredible deal. You get a same-day ride and water park combo ticket to Maury's Piers for just $70. That's a $50 savings per ticket for unlimited rides on all three piers, both water parks for a whole day. Make this summer unforgettable at Maury's Piers. You can get this exclusive offer while supplies last at 975thefanatic.com/deals. This really is a phenomenal deal. When they talk about unlimited rides on all three piers, the Great White wooden roller coaster in Wildwood may be my favorite roller coaster in my lifetime. I love that. Ray, you been on that?
Yeah, I have.
It's a phenomenal roller coaster.
You're going to go to Maury's Pier this weekend, aren't you?
Dude, I'd like to go to the water park and sit in the lazy river. I'd be all about it.
No, the Great White. You've ever been down there?
Not to Maury's Piers. No, I have not.
Oh, missing out, man.
You are missing out, bro.
Well, thank God we have the deal.
Yeah, no, seriously, take advantage of it. It's a great time. That's where I grew up, going to the Wildwood Boardwalk. And I remember when they built the Great White, I was probably 12. Still one of my favorites. But let's take a look. I want to look at the Philadelphia Eagles here. We're still going to have the debate on whether or not the 24 Eagles team was a top 5 team of all time based off of Saquon's comments yesterday. We'll get our Twitter poll results coming up. I'll get back to the text board. But as we look to the 2025 team and how this team can repeat, schedule gets released last week. It's not an easy schedule by any means, but we know how the schedule always works. You're going to play your division opponents more than anybody else. You got 2 games against the Commanders, the Giants, and the Cowboys. I was reading an article last night where Pro Football Focus, based off of projected wins, looked at the toughest divisions in all of football. They have the NFC North, the Lions, the Vikings, the Packers, and the Bears, as the number 1 toughest. I think I agree with that. When you look at last year, too, very tough. But they have the NFC East as the 5th toughest.
You thought they should be higher?
I did. Look, the Giants stink. I think we all can agree that the Giants stink.
So does Dallas.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask you. Dallas has improved, though. I know we hate the Cowboys. We love to hate on the Cowboys. They didn't make a splashy hire just promoting Brian Schottenheimer to their head coach. But they have made some decent moves for the Dallas Cowboys.
They had a good draft, too.
They had a good draft. I know you love the Tyler Booker draft pick.
Yeah, it was a little high, but he's a plug-and-play guy. He's going to be an all-pro.
So he's their guard. He's going to replace Zach Martin, who retired. They did lose DeMarcus Lawrence, but they also drafted another one of your favorite guys, Donovan Azaraku, local kid, to play defensive end. But if they can make it work with George Pickens, I know he can be a head case. that offense can be effective. Like, I know we love to hate on Dak Prescott, and I don't put
I don't. I just look at it objectively.
When I say we, I mean the Eagles fan base. Like, I know we love to hate on Dak and all that. And I don't put him up there in the top echelons of quarterbacks.
He's still a good quarterback.
He's a good quarterback, and now he's got CeeDee Lamb on one side, George Pickens on the other side. They signed Miles Sanders, Javonte Williams for the running back room. I think they're going to be an improved team. And in the division, it's always hard. Like, I'm actually predicting that the Eagles sweep the Cowboys this year, but that's not a guarantee, man. That's not an easy thing to do.
Right. I actually don't have them sweeping Dallas. I think they dropped the one where they have to go to Arlington. But to your point, yeah, they have made improvements, but this is a classic case of a team that I think is going to get out of the gate pretty fast, and then they're going to stagger because I think that George Pickens is going to implode, and Dallas always seems to be ravaged by injuries or inconsistent play. Miles Sanders, I don't know how you feel about it. He hasn't really moved the needle for me.
Not in Carolina.
Well, I mean, you have to go a couple of seasons before he was to kind of go back and see when he was a relevant player. And he's really a complimentary piece. I don't think Javonte Williams is really much to write home about. So I say all that to say that they're going to be a middling team. And let's not forget that Hard Knocks in season, I think, is going to ravage that team. They're not built to handle that, and that's going to be a big distraction for them.
I can't wait for in-season Hard Knocks. But my understanding is it doesn't air till December.
December, right.
Right?
They just get footage all season until then.
Yeah, so, I mean, how much of an impact will that have on the teams when that starts to get released? Because you're talking about December. It's towards the end of the year.
But you have cameras around all the time, so you're not as loose, so you're not. You're more cognizant of how you're moving and what you're saying.
I agree with you, and A.J. Brown even tweeted out, nope, when they made the announcement, like he wouldn't want that. But when we say cameras around all the time, I mean, just look at the Eagles. They put out that unscripted pretty much every week anyway.
Yeah, but they control that.
They do. They can control the footage, but I'm sure they have some sort of control when it comes to what Hard Knocks is going to put out.
I don't know. HBO and Hard Knocks, they're pretty invasive.
I can't believe the Giants want to do it again after that whole debacle with their offseason. But look, I think the Cowboys are going to be better, and even though John Kincade loves to put down the Commanders, I think the Commanders are going to be a good team.
So do I.
So when I look at the division, yes, I'm picking the Eagles to win it, but I don't think that it's going to be that easy, and I would not rank them as the fifth toughest. I would put them, like, this article had the NFC West ranked above them. I'm not putting the NFC West.
Yeah, I don't agree with that, but I think the Commanders are going to have a pretty strong season. I really like Jaden Daniels.
All right, well, we'll continue this conversation coming up next, and then everybody's favorite segment, Ray Dunn, with the news at noon. So keep it right here.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Phillies sweep the Rockies. I'm Ray Dunn with this Fanatic Sports Update. The Phillies beat the Rockies 2-0 yesterday. Rangers forwards going 6 2/3, striking out 6, not allowing a run. The win completes a 4-game sweep of the Rockies, gives the Phillies a 7-game season sweep of Colorado. The Phillies have beaten the Rockies 7 times. The Rockies have won just 8 games this season. Just a brutal season of baseball already out there in Colorado for the Phils. That's 7 straight wins. They now make their way to Sacramento to face a slumping A's team. Zach Wheeler getting the ball. First pitch tonight at 10:05 against the A's. OTAs start Tuesday for the Birds as the reigning Super Bowl champions getting back to work and getting out there on the field. In the NBA, the postseason continues on. The Thunder with a win last night to go up 2-0 in the Western Conference Finals. Pacers and Knicks tonight in Game 2 of that series. If it's anything like Game 1, you want to be tuned in. We will have the broadcast of it for you live right here on The Fanatic later tonight. This update is brought to you by Mattress Firm. Get matched and sleep at night during Mattress Firm's Upgrade Your Sleep Sale. Take 120 nights to love your new bed or your money back. Restrictions apply. I'm Ray Dunn in your home for NBA playoff action. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
But we were just having a conversation about the toughest divisions in the NFL. And I would say I think the NFC East is going to be a lot tougher this year. We talked about the Cowboys because even though we hate on the Cowboys, I don't think they're going to win the division, but I do expect them to be better. They'll have Dak Prescott healthy. They made that trade for George Pickens. They had a nice draft, as Andrew DeCecco pointed out. They replaced Zach Martin with Tyler Booker. They replaced DeMarcus Lawrence with Donovan Ezeraku, local kid from Boston College. But the Commanders. Now, John Kincade, who I know may be listening, came after me last week because I said I think that the Commanders are going to be the toughest team for the Eagles in the NFC this year. I look at the NFC.
In the NFC or NFC East?
Both. So I look at the NFC, and I think that the Commanders are the team that are going to give the Eagles the toughest challenge. I think the Eagles are a better team. I'm predicting that the Eagles repeat. I just don't know if they even win their own division based off of the way the schedules are. What's your position about the Washington Commanders?
Well, I think they're a good team, and they're going to have another – I don't think they're going to take a step back or anything like that, but I will say that the in-season hard knocks for a team like that is an upstart, there's going to be a lot of cameras. Jaden Daniels is going to be under intense scrutiny. Sometimes that may skew or alter their season or their trajectory. So I think that's something to keep an eye on. But they had another good draft. Adam Peters, their GM, has done a tremendous job in making them a viable contender. Drafting an offensive tackle in the first round like Josh Connerly and building around the quarterback, it has to be a breath of fresh air for Commanders fans. So I think that they are going to be a force and somebody that the Eagles are going to have to contend with for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, you talk about Connerly, which I know you like that draft pick.
That was a really good pick.
And then they make the trade for Laramie Tunsil. They get the team Debo Samuels. I just think when you look at a team who won 12 games last year, top 5 in points on offense, I just expect them to be even better this season. I don't think they're as good as the Eagles. So, John, if you're listening, stop saying that I think that they would lose to the Eagles, or excuse me, that the Eagles lose the Commanders. That's not my point. My point is you don't play the Commanders 17 times. And the Commanders have an easier schedule than the Eagles do, and that's why I think it may be close in terms of who wins that division. But we'll see how it all plays out. A little over 100 days away,
I can't wait, man.
A little over 100 days away.
I don't want to go too fast because I like training camp. That's my favorite part of the season.
Well, training camp's in about 60 days, but we're only 4 days away from some on-field sessions next week, right? You going to be over there?
OTAs, yeah. It'll be 3 days next week, the 27th, 28th, and the 30th. And I can't wait. So there's not a whole lot you can really glean in terms of trench play. But last year, that was where Keely Ringo really shined in OTAs, Grant Calcaterra as that pass-receiving tight end.
Yeah.
But this is really a passing camp, and that's really where those guys shine. E.J. Jenkins became he was on the radars of some because of how he performed there as well.
Yeah, and when you talk about the passing camp, the one thing we will be able to hopefully get a little bit of a read on, it'll be hard on the offensive line who's playing right guard. But who's going to win that other cornerback position?
Yeah.
Because Darius Slay's gone. His backup, Isaiah Rodgers, is gone. This is going to be a battle between Keely Ringo, Adoree Jackson. Maybe Eli Ricks works his way into that competition. Probably not.
Maybe, probably not, but they like him.
But are you of the belief, because I am, they keep Cooper DeJean inside as a slot corner?
Absolutely.
So we know Quignon's your one outside corner. I agree. I think you keep Cooper DeJean at that nickel corner position. It's essentially a starter in today's NFL.
It's the toughest position, in my opinion, to play on defense because receivers have a two-way go. You have a lot more ground to cover. You have to be involved in the running game, and you have to know what all three levels have to do. So, yeah, I don't think they're going to move them off that.
Yeah, and then we'll see who wins that other one. And now I'm looking at the YouTube chat. I've been neglecting my YouTube peeps. And Chris Miller says, are you guys really counting down the training camp like we can't get a week of summer? Bunch of losers. Dude, then call me a loser, man, because I can't wait, dude.
I mean, it's my job. So, yeah, it's my job.
Yeah,
so
yeah, it is. It's Andrew's job. But look, when I was a kid, summer was the best time of year, and I still love the summer. Don't get me wrong. Ray is already in summer mode back there, but my favorite time of year is football season now. I mean, you got the fall weather, which is the best. You got NFL football, which is now feels like it's every day of the week because they play every day of the week now. But, yeah, you can't convince me otherwise, man. I'm not wishing the summer away, but at the same time, yeah, don't get me wrong. I'm counting down the days. I can't wait till football season's back.
There's nothing wrong with that.
You know what else I can't wait for?
What's that?
The News at Noon with Ray Dunn. And it's time!
There's a whole lot going on in this world. It's time to catch up. Here's the News at Noon 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
All right, what do we got, Raymond?
Yeah, you're listening to the news at noon on WPEN, WPEN HD1 Burlington, Philadelphia, Beasley Media Group station, broadcasting live. The Comcast Business Studio, powering possibilities. Let's take you to the NBA, where last night SGA and the Thunder went up 2-0. I can't wait. This Oklahoma City team's looking great at just the right time. They've looked great all season, but looking great right now. He's quickly become one of my favorite players in the league. If you're not shocked by that one, a guy who makes a lot of his points at the free throw line, that is currently playing on a team that was rebuilt by a guy named Sam. It really checks all the boxes for what I want in an NBA player. Richard Jefferson was on a podcast this week talking about a story that SGA, a story of a conversation he and SGA had about his free throw shooting, and I love the mentality here, and this is the exact fight I would have with people about those who call him a free throw merchant.
I go to ask him, I'm like, so there's a lot of conversation about, and he smiles so big. He goes, I love it. And I'm like, so I was like, the free throws? He's like, yeah. But he's like, and this is again, the cerebral, like he says it with a smile, which is so engaging to chanting everybody's point. He goes, what's crazy about it is that he said 2 years ago, I averaged almost 11 free throws a game, but we finished 10th and no one cared. Now I'm averaging 9 free throws. So I'm averaging less free throws than I did then. And now he goes, it just means that they care. He's like, when I wasn't sending their best favorite player home, when I wasn't sending their team home, then no one cared that I was shooting 11 free throws a night and scoring this amount of points. Now that I'm doing it and I'm averaging 9 free throws, the whole world is exploding about it. He's like, I love it. It just means they're thinking about me.
When I wasn't sending their favorite player home, nobody cared.
Yeah. My love for SGA is growing too, right?
Yeah, that's a cold-blooded comment. I love that.
I'm rooting for OKC, man. I mean, he's just so good. So good. What, he dropped 38 last night?
It's ridiculous. And watching him, everyone's, the fouls. Like, they're fouls, man. If you don't foul him, he's going to score. So he's getting those 2 points regardless. Either he's going to get him on a layup or he's going to get him because you fouled him. To act like he is something crazy like that we haven't seen scorers who get fouled a ton and go to the free throw line is just... You're lying to yourself.
Joel Embiid used to.
Okay. Why did
used to?
I thought you wanted to have a good vibe here.
Well, you were the one that brought it up. You threw out a team built by a guy named Sam.
Hey, I was just throwing that out there for people to subtly get, okay? Some people didn't get. Some people are like, what's this guy talking about? And those are the people that would be upset by me mentioning Embiid. So I didn't want to. You were the one that went down.
At least we got the NBA draft coming up next month, right? What else you got?
Get excited. Dan Quinn giving a commencement speech, and I will miss Mike for this piece of audio right here.
He would very upset. Mike wants to give a commencement speech more than anything.
Oh, really?
And he's never been asked.
Oh.
But Dan Quinn was asked. What do we got?
Dan Quinn was asked, and he also did something that I think would make Mike upset. I'm not positive about this one. Listen to the end of Dan Quinn's speech.
Which leads me back to where we started and the 4 words I wish I was told when I was in your chair. And now I live by. So, ladies and gentlemen of Salisbury University's class of 2025, let it rip.
Oh, Mike would be so upset with this. He would be so upset with this for several reasons. One, yes, because he's never been asked to give a commencement speech. But Mike, well, he's not as much now, but I'm kind of anti-F-bomb at a commencement speech, right? I'm assuming that was
a little lowbrow.
Was that an F-bomb that you bleeped?
Yeah, that was an F-bomb. Let it bleep and rip.
That's lowbrow. That's sophomoric. We don't need that.
I don't like it. I don't like it at a commencement speech. I mean, granted, it's mostly adults there and college. It's a college that he spoke at?
Yes, Salisbury University.
Salisbury. I don't know.
I've found this delineation.
Not very profound.
Because every once in a while, people are just scrounging for guests to have it at a career conversation or at a panel or something, and I get invited to one of these things. And I've decided college is the line where you can curse. High school, I don't feel it's appropriate. That's the line I've dropped for myself.
Look, cursing, yeah, I'm not going to act like I've never heard it or have used it. Thankfully, I've never dropped it on the air. But when you're given a commencement speech,
I've never given one of those.
I just think there's more profound statements you could make than let it bleep and rip, whatever. Like, was he
motivating statements?
Yeah, like, come on, man.
Like, leave him with something good.
I don't know.
I think he did. You got to let it rip, man. Let it bleep and rip. You got to get your point across. Like, so sensitive.
Check out the big brain on Dan.
Oh.
All right.
Was he wearing a backwards hat during it, too?
No, you got to do the whole garb, right? He's got the whole commencement Garco. Which, by the way, can we update that?
No.
We need to update that.
I would be anti-updating it.
I was at my brother's graduation last week, and let's just update the whole thing, okay?
No.
It does
Please.
need to be revamped.
You know what
Yeah.
I always wanted, and I never had the opportunity? Instead of wearing the boxed cap, the people who wear like you know what I'm talking about? Like
The beret?
Yeah, like the beret one that has the thing.
We
Like
have
you
to
look
update
super intelligent when you got the beret one.
Yeah, I see. I can't pull off a beret.
No.
I'll stick with the traditional one there.
You look like you spent a lot of money for a dumb outfit, is what you look like in one of those.
A goofy hat.
Doesn't
Last
it get
one.
you every time though, Ray, when you hear the pomp and circumstance like no, you just start to get like a little emotional when you saw your little brother walking in his cap and gown?
Cried so much.
You did, didn't you?
No.
You could
I
probably
was
see the
proud of
back
him.
of Ray's eyelids.
I was proud of him, but I was more laughing at the ones in the row with me that were crying. We knew he was going to do it.
Yeah.
The man's a smart kid. He was going to get through it.
But
Congratulations to him, by the way.
Yeah.
Congratulations to Ray Dunn's brother, and bad luck for Dan Quinn. What else we got?
All right, one more for you. The Knicks with a massive meltdown in Game 1, which led to a massive meltdown for Stephen A. Smith. Here's the start of First Take yesterday.
I am having a very, very bad morning. Look in my face. I'm not in a very good mood. I'm not in a very good mood. I was supposed to be orange and blue skies. It was supposed to be orange and blue skies, okay? But as you can see, there's rain descending down upon us. Thunder. Yes, I'm in OKC, but damn it, I'm talking about the New York Knicks. You saw what happened last night. They were in the lead. They had a 17-point lead. And then my assistant, Sumatra, started clapping and celebrating like the world was ours. She got cocky. And the rest of the Knicks sensed it. And so did Karl Anthony Towns. And so did Jalen Brunson. And so did everybody else. And suddenly everything collapsed. And I'm sitting here now. So I'm just warning y'all today. I am not in a very good mood at all.
Is he okay? Is he okay?
See, this is where Mike and I have battled about this because, and Ray too, because me and Ray are of the belief you can't root for the Knicks because of their fans. And Mike's like, it has nothing to do with the fans. But like hearing Stephen A., that's how every Knicks fan felt after watching that game. Call it trivial. I don't care. Call me a hater.
Petty.
Puts a smile on my face.
Yeah,
man.
it did.
Right. Doesn't just put a smile. And you like Stephen A. I know you do, but he represents.
Him being upset is
Yes.
top tier. And also, Sumatra get called out there like he wasn't definitely cocky in that moment. He has to go after his assistant on that one. Come on.
I know.
Come on.
Oh, I love every second of it. Wait, when's game 2 tonight?
Should be tonight.
On our airwaves at
7?
7:30. You get the pregame show starting here on these airwaves at 7:30. I knew that.
Now, this is probably as close to a must-win as you can get in a game 2 for the Knicks. Coming off of that collapse.
Must win or can't lose.
Yeah, I still think they're going to win the series, but
If they lose tonight, both games at Madison Square Garden, coming off of a, 0 and 1,414 stat, and they lose that game, I don't know, man. I think must win tonight, Ray.
Definitely you can't lose.
you see T.J. McConnell out there in the fourth playing some meaningful minutes.
Oh, we talk about T.J. McConnell a lot on this show.
Alex Caruso also last night looked pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. You like Alex Caruso. Mike doesn't. Mike likes the Knicks somehow. Ray doesn't. That's kind of been our a lot of stuff. But yeah, Mike doesn't like T.J. McConnell either.
Why? He's an effort guy.
Because he says that he's a white guy that never figured out how to shoot. That's why he hates it, right? Is that pretty much encompass the whole argument?
That's the whole thing.
He's carved out a long career for somebody who can't shoot.
It's been pretty incredible. Never should have got rid of him, Ray. Never should have got rid of T.J. McConnell.
I'll wear the jersey Monday.
All right, good job, Ray, as always, with the news at noon. Coming up, I want to get back to the main topic of the day based off of Saquon Barkley's comments. And I want to take a look. Saquon, if you missed it, said that the 2024 Eagles were a top 5 team of all time. I agree with it. Andrew and Ray don't. But I want to take a look at some of these teams that you guys are saying would be above the 24 Eagles in terms of greatest of all time. We'll talk about that coming up next.
Andrew Salciunas.
It's not
Singing this, Ray?
No, I figured you would just go for it. Seems like a song you feel like you could irrationally sing.
You look like you're ready to start singing there, Ray.
I did do a brief rendition of this song at Tom Alvord's wedding.
Oh, during karaoke?
Yes, mostly because Connor Thomas, I believe, handed me the mic at one point during his rendition of this song.
He tried to shimmy out of it.
Which is not something he usually does. I know this is for certain people who go to a certain establishment in the city for karaoke. This song, they've heard Connor sing, I'm sure, multiple times. I believe this is his go-to karaoke. You can check in with him. He's coming your way at 2 o'clock, but he's sung this song a number of times.
So I think if you're going to do karaoke, I think the song that really gets the crowd going is Crocodile Rock by Elton John. Because then everybody joins in with the la.
I hate that song.
La, 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 la.
That song's terrible.
Oh, it's a great karaoke song. Trust me. Next time you're singing karaoke, Andrew, because I know you do it a lot, go with Crocodile Rock.
Yeah, if I'm doing karaoke in the early 2000s, man, I'm absolutely hitting you with the Crocodile Rock.
Yeah.
Well,
So
it's not the early 2000s.
Oh, okay.
it is not, but it's still a good karaoke song. But let's get back to the main topic for today's show. So yesterday, Saquon Barkley was on a podcast with Cooper DeJean and Reed Blankenship, and he made a bold statement that got reposted everywhere. I saw ESPN posted, I think even NFL reposted it, where Saquon Barkley said that they are a top 5 team of all time. Not just Eagles history, top 5 in NFL history. And it got me thinking about it, and I agree with him. When I go back and I look at the season that your Philadelphia Eagles had last year, I think they are easily in the top 5, and I'm going to give you some of my bullet points again. Most wins ever with 18. Most wins ever. No other team has more than 18. The 07 Patriots had 18, but they didn't win it all. The 85 Bears and the 84 49ers had 18. I know other teams didn't play 17 games. It's still impressive. They only lost 3 games all season. They went 18-3. They won 16 of their final 17 games, including the Super Bowl. The only game they lost, Jalen Hurts gets hurt in the first half. They had the most points ever in the playoffs. The most rushing yards ever in a single season when including the playoffs. They were a plus 68 point differential in the playoffs, the best in 23 years. A plus 50 point differential in the NFC Championship and the Super Bowl, the best in 25 years. They were a plus 12 turnover differential in the playoffs, the second best ever. They set a conference championship record with 55 points. They're only the second team since the 1970 merger to have the NFL's rushing champion and be a number 1 defense, tying the 1992 Dallas Cowboys. This team was unbelievable. And you look at the road to the Super Bowl and the teams that they had to beat and the quarterbacks that they had to beat. They had to beat Jordan Love. They had to beat Matthew Stafford. They had to beat Jaden Daniels. And then they had to beat, arguably, the GOAT, Patrick Mahomes. And who's the head coach? Andy Reid. They didn't just win that game. They dominated that game. This is a top 5 team of all time. Convince me otherwise, Andrew, because for whatever reason, you hate the 24 Eagles.
That sounds very Waterboy-esque there, Bill. Well, since you like numbers, let me give you some. This is just the 2012 Denver Broncos. 606 points for the season, 37.9 points per game. Peyton Manning, 5,477 yards, 55 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. No Sean Moreno, over 1,000. Demaryius Thomas, about 1,500. Eric Decker, over 1,000. Julius Thomas, 788. Wes Welker, 778. You look at the Eagles, 2024, 463 points, 27.2 points per game. And the numbers look a little bit, I'm not factoring in, they don't have to win the Super Bowl. That's not.
Yeah, what Broncos team was that? What year?
2012.
All right, the 2012 Broncos.
Like that one alone.
I just want to throw out there, they lost in the divisional round. The 2012 Broncos did not even make it out of the divisional round. Now, do you mean the 2013 Broncos that lost in the Super Bowl to the Seahawks? Which one are we looking at here?
Should be 2012. That's the one that had the prolific offensive stats.
Dude, they lost in the divisional round to the Ravens. I believe that was the year Flacco won the Super Bowl, wasn't it? 2012?
Yeah.
That was that crazy play.
They were still good in 2013 as well, but the numbers weren't as
both teams eliminated from contention. They didn't win the Super Bowl.
All right, well, 2007 Patriots.
Didn't win the Super Bowl.
Doesn't matter, though. You're talking about a team that everyone's going to remember. No one's going to remember that they didn't win. Because the Patriots, and Asante dropped that interception, but
I think that if they didn't win the Super Bowl, they should be eliminated. Now, here's the teams that I would put up there, though. All right? The 1985 Chicago Bears. We know they went 15-1 in the regular season. They also won 18 games. They outscored their opponents in the playoffs 91-10, which is just insane. 3 games, they only gave up 10 points. They dominated the Super Bowl 46-10 against the Patriots, and we know that defense is one of the best ever. So I'll give you the 85 Bears. The 89 49ers, 14-2 in the regular season, outscored their opponents in the playoffs 126-26. They beat the Broncos in the Super Bowl by the largest margin ever, 55-10, and they had Joe Montana on that team. The 72 Dolphins, hard to argue, only perfect season in the history of the NFL.
92 Cowboys.
92 Cowboys were good.
So we're getting close to 5 here.
The 91 Washington Commanders, they weren't the Commanders back then. They had a plus 261 point differential that season, which is like the best ever. But those are 4. The Cowboys, 92. All right, maybe I'll give you 5. You know what other team was pretty good too? Maybe I'm making the
78
argument.
Steelers?
The 96 Packers.
Yeah, they were good.
They had a good squad. That was, I believe, Brett Favre's MVP season. We talked about the Legion of Boom a little bit, a lot this season. Like when I looked at the Philadelphia Eagles, all year I was making the comparison to the Legion of Boom. Very, very similar. Really good defense, great rushing attack, not really relying on their passing game. That was the 13 Seahawks. I may be making the argument against myself here because then you also got the 99 greatest show on turf, Los Angeles Rams, or St. Louis Rams.
You know, a sleeper team, the 05 Steelers.
Was that when Jerome Bennis won it in Detroit? Like
I believe so. It was the second year of Ben Roethlisberger, not the first year where he was sort of just.
Is that the Santonio Holmes touchdown in the corner of the end zone?
No, that was 2008 against the Cardinals.
So 05 then would have been when Jerome Bennis won it in Detroit in his hometown.
Remember he fumbled and I think Nick Harper, the corner, tackled him. I can't remember.
It's a fun conversation to have. So we want to hear from you on this. I know we got a lot of people on the text board weighing in. We want to hear from you. 610-632-0975. Would you rate the 24 Eagles as a top 5 team of all time like Saquon Barkley would? But coming up next, Jeffrey Lurie, when he spoke at the owners' meeting, not his wet dream comment this week, when he spoke at the owners' meeting back in April down in Palm Beach, Florida, he not only said the Eagles were a top 5 team, he has them ranked even higher. We'll play that audio for you coming up next.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Phillies sweep the Rockies. I'm Ray Dunn with this Fanatic Sports Update. Phillies beat the Rockies 2-0 yesterday as Ranger Suarez went 6 2/3, striking out 6, not allowing a run. The win completes a 4-game sweep of the Rockies. The Phillies with 7 wins against the Rockies now this season. The Rockies 8 wins on the season, 8-42 to start their season. Real baseball out there in Colorado for the Phillies. It's 7 straight wins now as they make their way to Sacramento to face the A's. It'll be the first time they're out there facing the A's in Sacramento. Of course, the A's spend that time out in Sacramento because they're in between stops in Oakland and Las Vegas. Zach Wheeler getting the ball tonight at 10:05, first pitch between the A's and Phillies. OTAs start for the Birds on Tuesdays. The reigning Super Bowl champions get back out there onto the field. And in the NBA, postseason continues. Last night, the Thunder, another big win. They're up 2-0 in the Western Conference Finals. Pacers and Knicks game 2 tonight. You'll be able to catch it. Pre-game coverage here on The Fanatic begins at 7:30. This update is brought to you by ExpressPros.com. If you're ready for a new job, let Express Employment Professionals help you. Express is already hiring for summer jobs in a variety of industries. Visit ExpressPros.com. I'm Ray Dunn, your home for NBA playoff action. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5TheFanatic.com.
Yeah, Ray is very excited for Memorial Day weekend.
Hey, man, I haven't had 3 consecutive days off since last August, all right?
Listen, I'm excited,
Give me
too.
some time here.
I'm excited, too. But when I was your age, Ray, young man. But really, Memorial Day weekend was the best because it starts the summer and you're down the shore and you're partying and you're feeling good and Ray's single, ready to mingle. You know what I mean?
I didn't think our audience knew that. Thanks for clarifying that.
That's
Appreciate
right,
that.
ladies. Ray Dunn, single, ready to mingle. We're definitely going to do the win a date with Ray, but we'll save that for another day, Ray. We'll save that for
appreciate that. Thanks.
The dog days of summer. But today we're talking about something Saquon Barkley said. Top 5 team of all time. Do you agree? Do you disagree? We put up a Twitter poll on 97.5 The Fanatic's Twitter account, at 97.5 The Fanatic, asking that very question. What do we got on the Twitter poll, Ray?
Yeah, our Twitter poll, you can see it at 975 The Fanatic. We asked, Saquon Barkley said that the 2024 Eagles were a top 5 all-time team in the NFL. Do you agree with Saquon? 66% of the vote coming in saying yes, they're top 5. 22% saying no, but top 10. And 11% of the vote still saying no, just recency bias.
A lot of smart people out there. A lot of smart
smart Philadelphians.
Now, I know you two are saying no, not top 5. I'm saying that they are top 5. But are you willing to say top 10? I think you both said not even top 10. Right?
No, you don't.
Yeah.
All right, I'm just making sure. I'm making sure.
Don't misquote us now.
I want to make sure. So you're willing to go top 10 of all time? 24 Eagles. Top 10 of all
off the cuff, yeah.
time.
I'll say, yeah, top 10. I'll give you that.
All right, you'll give me that. See,
it's a compromise.
We're coming to an agreement here. Now, we've opened up the text board to this, and you can weigh in 610-632-0975. Ray, I know we got a lot on the text board on this conversation.
Yeah, Lowell from Harrisburg. Bill, I like the Eagles team last year, but they are not top 5 all time. Now, take the 2022 team, put them in 2024. They would have they had 72 sacks back in 2022. Any 49ers championship teams with Montana, Cowboys teams in the 90s, Rams 1999, 85 Bears. The passing stats in 2024 hold the Eagles back from being top 5 all time.
All right, a lot in there. Who was that texter?
Lowell from Harrisburg.
Lowell, great stuff.
Yeah, appreciate you weighing in. But the 2024 passing numbers, a lot of it was intentional. I know we talked about it all season long, like, can this passing offense win a Super Bowl? They're 29th in terms of yards. That's the lowest. When I went back like 25 years. No team had been that low in passing yards and won a Super Bowl until this Eagles team. But a lot of it was intentional. They were 32nd in passing attempts because they leaned so heavily on the run. But it sounds as if in that text, correct me if I'm wrong, he's saying the 2022 team was actually better than this team.
It seems like I think he wanted to put the 2022 pass rush with this team, and that would have put it over the edge.
Yeah, it's not a la carte, though. You can't just, pick and choose.
No, I mean, I would look at those two teams, and I'm taking the 2024 team, and I can boil it down to one player. I'm taking Saquon Barkley over Miles Sanders. And Miles Sanders had a great year. He had close to 1,300 yards rushing.
Yeah.
But remember what he did in the Super Bowl. They couldn't even trust him.
Yeah, put Kenny Gainwell in.
They had to put Kenny G in. That's
also,
right.
The defense last year was way better.
The defense last year.
As a whole.
The defense last year finished number, what was it? Let me look. I got it right here. Defense last year, number 2 in points, number 1 in yards. That defense in 2022 was number 8 in points, number 2 in yards. So this defense, according to the final stats, was better. I know what he's talking about with the 70 sacks, but now I'm taking this defense, man. I'm taking this defense with Zach Bond.
It's younger, it's more athletic, and then you also have to factor in Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, I mean, I like T.J. Edwards a lot, but I'm taking Zach Bond over T.J. Edwards, more of a playmaker. That team was James Bradbury and Darius Slay. That was a really good season for JB. I mean, it's hard.
The second team All-Pro.
Yeah, you look back at JB now, you're like, oh, man, he was terrible. But that year, he was really good. Slay and James Bradbury with Avonte Maddox in the slot, or Quinyon Slay with Cooper DeJean in the slot.
Yeah, I think you take that. Then they also had C.J. Gardner-Johnson and Reed Blankenship, so it was status quo. Yeah.
Same thing there. Defensive line, it was probably a little bit better. You had Reddick, Fletch.
Yeah.
Yeah. You had Reddick, Flex. You still had Sweat.
Hargrave.
The offensive line, you had Jason Kelsey, but Cam Jurgens, man, held his own.
Cam Jurgens did a tremendous job last year. But they also had Yeah, I've got to think back to that team. Obviously, Mailata and Lane were there. So, yeah, it's pretty much the same.
All right, let's go back to the phones because our man, Dr. Mad Elf, Greg from Bethlehem, has been holding a while. Let me punch him up here if I can. Ray, the touch screen's not working on the phone here. Let me see if I could do it with the computer. Oh, there we go. Greg, what's going on, man? You're on the Fanatic.
Hey, how we doing?
Good to hear from you, my brother. I'm surprised it's 12:30, Memorial Day weekend. How many Mad Elves?
2.5.
All right. I'm glad we got to you when we did. I don't know if you're going to be able to hold any longer.
You might be out of commission by 2 o'clock.
What do you got, man?
Well, it's my favorite NFL combination evaluation there. You guys are doing a great job, and I'm wondering, we're talking about freshening up the Eagles' offense, and one area that I thought might need some freshening up, I could be wrong, is the middle of the field. Do you think that Jalen Hurts has a problem seeing over the line to make throws in the middle of the field? Or why do you think they tend to not favor that area?
What do you think, Andrew? I mean, we've heard that before. Like,
just a comfort thing.
He doesn't like to utilize the middle of. I mean, this was something in the 2023 season when the offense was struggling. It was they never threw over the field. When you look at some of the route charts, everything was outside. Did you see that a lot last year too?
Not as much, but it was still there. And he also doesn't throw the ball to the running backs a lot, but he can certainly do that. We've seen him that wheel route to Saquon Barkley against the Green Bay Packers in Brazil was something that I could think of off the bat. But I think Kevin Patullo is going to. We talk about the advanced route concepts. That's what I think you're going to see more with him, which would mean utilizing the middle of the field more and opening things up, because I thought they were far too compressed last year. So that, yes, I think they need to, and I think that they will. And Jalen actually spoke about how much he was excited that Dallas Goedert came back, and I talked about the connection that they have, so he's going to utilize him as well.
Yeah, I'm happy that Goddard came back. And I want to play something for you and Ray, since you don't think that the Eagles are a top 5 team of all time last year. I want to hear from Jeffrey Lurie real quick, because Jeffrey Lurie not only gave a very impassioned speech to all the owners yesterday to save the tush push, when he gave his kind of State of the Union last month. Listen to Jeffrey Lurie about the 24 Eagles.
I'd almost like to say that has there been a better NFL team than the 24 Eagles? I don't know. I'd much rather say that. I'm very proud of that.
He's very proud of that. Has there been a better team than the 2024? You guys won't even put him top 5. And Jeffrey Lurie's asking the question, are they the best ever? I don't even know who you two are anymore. I really don't.
Yeah. We should really take the owner's opinion of this and use it as our measuring stick.
Yeah.
I have not seen a more impressive apartment in all of Northern Liberties than the one I live in. Come on.
Listen, Jeffrey,
that's the best car. The best car is the one that you have.
Yes, I have the nicest car.
He is a wise man. He is a wise man, Ray Dunn. A very wise man.
He's a very wise man. He did an incredible job this week of selling the room on the tush push. I will not take that away from him. The man is a genius. He knew.
Yeah, Ray
being the weirdest guy in the room gets you what you need.
Ray loved the weird comment. What was your position on that? Did you talk about that at all yesterday?
I didn't like it. I didn't think
weird, right?
I thought it was weird. Yeah, he could have gotten his point across saying it. I know it was off the cuff. It wasn't planned. But when you're in a room full of team owners, it's a business meeting. I'm not like we would never it's a business meeting.
All right, let me ask you, what's worse? Jeffrey Lurie dropping that at the business meeting, or Dan Quinn dropping the F-bomb at the commencement speech?
Well, I think Jeffrey Lurie's was a little bit more odd.
Yeah, very strange.
Yeah. So I think that would be my choice.
Wild man wins the room. That is the way you have to look at this. He needed to get them off their game. He did.
Yeah, Ray thinks that he was just, man, that guy's so weird. We better vote.
Yeah.
We better vote in his favor.
I think you have to respect the passion, and let's not forget Jason Kelsey was there as well. They both gave impassioned speeches, and whatever they said, in addition to that,
a lot of passion.
Yeah, a lot of passion.
Now, we also heard from our man, Dr. Mad Elf, in that segment. And although he was slurring his words, he did bring up an interesting point talking about Jalen Hurts. Because we talked about this a little bit earlier, but I want to get back to this conversation that when we look at our Super Bowl MVP quarterback right now, and we look at where he stands in terms of his salary compared to the other quarterbacks in the NFL, is Jalen Hurts the biggest bargain going at the quarterback position right now? We're going to talk about that on the other side.
Connor Thomas.
To Sirianni's credit,
He's starting his Memorial Day weekend a little early, but we got Andrew DeCecco filling in with me and Ray. So we've been having some fun looking back at the 2024 Eagles Eagles and debating whether or not Saquon Barkley was correct in saying they are a top 5 team of all time. And it was a great day to do it because we want to be in a good mood as we head into Memorial Day weekend. The Phillies are flying high right now. We don't have to worry about the Sixers until the draft. We don't have to worry about the Flyers until they get into their draft and free agency. Although Sergei Bobrovsky shutout last night. Looks like he's going to another Stanley Cup. Still.
Boom.
No, Ray. No. Still bothers me, man. Still bothers me that they gave up on Sergei Bobrovsky for Ilya Brizgalov.
The Bob.
Humongous big. That was terrible. Anyway, but we're trying to feel good today, Ray. Don't bring me down.
That's why I played the horn, man. Flyers hockey. They're going to have a goalie at some point.
So we're looking back at the 24 Eagles and making that debate. But as we look at the 24 Eagles, we got to talk about the Super Bowl MVP, Jalen Hurts, because when he signed his contract a couple years ago, people were wondering if maybe they gave it to him too soon because he has the one good season in 2022, and people were saying, maybe you overpaid him, especially with the way the 2023 season ended. Not only were we debating whether or not Sirianni was, in fact, a good coach or not, people were wondering, is Jalen Hurts really a good quarterback or not? I defended him at length on these airwaves during that stretch and this whole past summer, a year ago, because a lot of people were out on him. But after he has the season he had, I know it was up and down in terms of passing offense. But when you needed him, he showed up. The Pittsburgh Steelers game, in the playoffs, he was great. In the Super Bowl, he was phenomenal. And now that's 2 Super Bowls where he's literally outdueled Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, I mean,
2 Super Bowls.
Right. So when the lights are brightest, he delivers. And you got to give credit to Howie Roseman for having the foresight to identify him as a player who is going to continue to grow and get ahead of things. And now it looks like a bargain. It is a bargain.
It is a bargain because I'm looking at the numbers right now. So Jalen Hurts, in terms of annual salary, comes in at number 11 in terms of quarterbacks. And I threw this question out earlier, so you two know the answer, but the top 10 highest paid quarterbacks in terms of annual salary have a combined 0 Super Bowl victories. And they've only been to the Super Bowl a combined 3 times. Jalen Hurts not only has 1 Super Bowl victory already, he's already been in another Super Bowl, and really he would have been the MVP of the 2022 Super Bowl had they won that game because he did his job. But you look at these other quarterbacks. Highest average salary, Dak Prescott, $60 million. Trevor Lawrence, $55 million. Jordan Love, $55 million. I wouldn't want any of those 3 over Jalen Hurts. Josh Allen, $55 million. Tua Tagovailoa, $53 million.
That's egregious.
I skipped over Joe Burrow, $55. Brock Purdy's now getting $53 a year, along with Jared Goff also getting $53 a year. Justin Herbert, $52.5, and then Lamar at $52 million. Only Goff, Purdy, and Burrow have ever been to a Super Bowl, and they're 0-3. This has become, I can't believe it. I mean, as much as I was high on Jalen Hurts, I never thought I would have looked at that contract and said, what a bargain. But it is a bargain, man.
Yeah, the market keeps resetting, and the going rate for quarterbacks are what you just saw Brock Purdy, get, and it's wild because a lot of the teams are settling now for quarterbacks that are middling. Trevor Lawrence, Brock Purdy, those are quarterbacks that I don't view as, signal callers that are going to, push their team over to the finish line. I don't think they could do it.
Yeah, the problem is, and I've heard Salciunas talk about this a lot in the morning, teams are kind of in a really tough spot. When you get a quarterback that's even above average,
You try to commit to him.
You got to, because the alternative, the devil is better than the one you don't. And
you have to go to the draft, and teams, that's a crapshoot.
Big
taking
time.
Quarterbacks.
Big time. And then you're in purgatory if you don't have a good quarterback. I mean, it's very, very rare that a team can win a Super Bowl without a solid quarterback. The only example that you have in the last 25 years would be when the Ravens did it with Trent Dilfer. Was that going back to 2000, I guess?
2000 with that defense. By the way, where is Lamar Jackson ranked on that list?
10th. $52 million a year. So Jalen's at $51 million a year at 11. Lamar's at 52. What's crazy is right behind Jalen, though, Kyler Murray, Deshaun Watson.
Ugh.
I mean, you look at the top 12 quarterbacks, only one of them has a Super Bowl. and it's Jalen Hurts. Because Mahomes comes in at 13 in terms of annual salary.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It is. It is a crazy league, man. The quarterbacks make a ton of money. But biggest bargain in sports may be Jalen Hurts' contract, which is just wild. But we're talking about if this 24 Eagles team was the top 5 of all time. I know a lot of people have been weighing in on the text board. You can still get in, 610-632-0975. I want to go to the phones because Terry from Bethlehem wants to get in on that conversation. What's up, Terry? You're on the Fanatic.
Hey, gentlemen. How we doing?
Hey, how you doing?
Good. So as I was sitting here listening to you list off teams that could arguably be in the top 5, it dawned on me that none of those 3 teams can claim 3 feathers in their cap like the Eagles can, which I think sets the Eagles apart. And first feather, salary cap era. So all those teams, a lot of them that you're listing off, it was before the salary cap, where half the teams they played in their schedule were JV squads. And then you look at the second feather, no surefire Hall of Fame quarterback. So there's been this argument all offseason that Jalen's not elite. Well, that just basically makes the point that the team is great. And your question of, is the team a top 5 team? That feather helps the Eagles. And the third one is, no other team tried to get a ban play. No other team was dominant enough in one play that the league, more than half the league, tried to ban it. So all those 3 things, no other team in the history of football can claim all 3 of those feathers. I think that sets the Eagles apart.
Yeah, how about Terry just spitting facts here on the Fanatic, Andrew? Making a lot of good points in there. But look, the tush-push and being banned, I'm not going to use that as an argument on why, they're the best. But his other 2 points are good ones. And
salary cap and all that.
The salary cap may be the biggest one because salary cap was implemented, I think, in 94 in the NFL. So when we look at the 85 Bears and the 72 Dolphins and even the 92 Cowboys and the 89 49ers and the 91 Washington Commanders and all that.
You could keep those teams together.
You could keep them together. It was easier to build those types of teams. Now, we didn't really put that into our analysis.
We can't keep adding to the criteria here.
That wasn't in our criteria. So what I would agree with Terry is maybe not surefire best team ever, but most impressive team building ever.
Yeah, definitely.
Right? When you have a salary cap era to be able to build a team like that, pretty damn good. And when we talk about that team being pretty damn good, we want them to repeat. Like, we want the dynasty. We want do it again. So I want to take a look at some of the things that A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts, Nick Sirianni said this week about how they can evolve that offense, how they can make that offense even better. We'll play that for you. We'll talk about it coming up next.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Phillies sweep the Rockies. I'm Ray Dunn with this Fanatic Sports Update. The Phillies beat the Rockies 2-0 yesterday. Rangers Suarez went 6 2/3, striking out 6, not allowing a run. The win completes a 4-game sweep of the Rockies, giving the Phillies 7 wins against Colorado this season. For the Rockies, they have just 8 wins on the season. Just brutal baseball out there in Colorado this year. For the Phillies, it's 7 straight wins now as they make their way to Sacramento to face the A's. Tonight, the first pitch is at 10:05. Zach Wheeler gets the ball for the Phils. OTAs start on Tuesday for the Birds, so your reigning Super Bowl champions getting back to work in preparation for the 2025 season. And the postseason for the NBA continues on. The Thunder with a win last night to go up 2-0 in the Western Conference Finals. Tonight, Game 2 between the Pacers and Knicks. If it's anything like Game 1, you want to be tuned in. You can be tuned into it right here on 97.5 The Fanatic. Pre-game coverage for that one beginning at 7:30, and you can hear it right here on our airwaves. This update is brought to you by Mattress Firm. Get matched and sleep at night during Mattress Firm's Upgrade Your Sleep sale. Take 120 nights to love your new bed or your money back. Restrictions apply. I'm Ray Dunn, your home for NBA playoff action, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
On vacation mode almost. Hopefully you're listening to us as you head down the shore, or maybe you're just getting ready for Memorial Day weekend, staying local. Either way, the unofficial start of summer. But look, we joke around celebrating, we're excited and all that. Ray's been playing summer music, but don't forget what Memorial Day actually is. I had a veteran tell me that one time because I wish somebody a happy Memorial Day weekend. He said, well, nothing happy about it. But look, it's the unofficial start of summer, but Memorial Day has meaning to it too. So don't forget that. But enjoy your weekend as we kick off the summer. We're trying to have a little bit of fun here today, looking back at the 2024 Eagles and wondering if Saquon Barkley was right, saying they were a top 5 all-time. Was Jeffrey Lurie right when he said, are they the best team ever? Let me remind you, too, that 12 o'clock hour was brought to you by Service First HVAC, offering 0% financing for 48 months, rebates and tax credits up to $4,300 when purchasing a heating and cooling system. Learn more at servicefirsthvac.com. Now would definitely be the time. It's not that hot yet, but it's going to be hot soon, so get that new cooling system in place before you really, really need it.
But what were we talking about before the show? That there is an anniversary for...
Oh, yeah. You're reminding me. So today is also the 45th anniversary of the release of The Shining. May 23rd, 1980. The movie The Shining hit theaters. I love horror movies. That's one of the best of all time. We had somebody weigh in earlier saying that The Exorcist was the best. I think I would agree. Scariest movie of my childhood was The Exorcist, when Linda Blair's head turns around. But I know you're a big horror guy. What's your favorite of all time?
Silence of the Lambs is good. I like Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors, because I got the Dokken theme song.
Dude, I love Nightmare on Elm Street 3.
That's great, man.
I love that movie when they go into dreams. Yeah, and they start to realize they can control their dreams.
That's awesome. I mean, it's cheesy, but it's awesome.
Very cheesy, but very awesome. Speaking of scary, don't look over your right shoulder. Oh, he just peered away. Ricky Batalico was hovering. That was pretty scary. But before we get back to the Eagles conversation, we'll take a quick detour because I know people have weighed in on the horror movies. Ray, what do we got on the text board?
Yeah, we got JT checking in here. Jaws is objectively the scariest movie ever, but one that disturbs me the most is The Thing. And for the sake of conversation, Cabin Fever is the funniest horror movie ever.
So, Jaws, excellent movie. Like, not just scary, excellent movie, summer movie, one of the best of all time. One of my favorites was Jaws. It's funny, The Thing, when I was a kid, my dad told me, quote unquote, it's the greatest horror movie of all time. So I went into The Thing thinking it was with Patrick Russell, thinking it was going to be awesome. I was disappointed. I think I had too high a hopes for it. I didn't think it was that great, The Thing. You ever see it?
Yeah, it's not that good.
People love it, though.
I don't want to rate on it. You know, your dad was really high on it, but Late Night with the Devil was good. That was a newer one. The Devil's Rejects by Rob Zombie.
Late Night with the Devil was weird, dude.
It was very weird. I watched it a couple times just because I think I fell asleep the first time. But it's an interesting movie. And then all the Rob Zombie stuff I like. I love The Devil's Rejects, House of a Thousand Corpses.
Yeah, those were pretty good. House of a Thousand Corpses was scary. Ray, you got a favorite horror movie of all time?
I guess. I mean, I'm not a big movie guy.
You're not a movie guy, and you're not a big horror guy.
And there's enough real life things to be worried about for me to be sitting there terrified for 2 hours. But
it's entertaining.
I'd rather laugh. You know, I don't really need something to scare me. I'd rather laugh. But one that I was forced to watch that I actually enjoyed, The Poltergeist.
They're here, right? Isn't that movie?
Yeah.
The crazy thing is that we started this conversation because we're talking about The Shining and the anniversary. The Shining is based off of an actual hotel, like a real hotel. It's called the Stanley Hotel in Colorado. And you could stay there.
Oh, never.
Like, you could go. It's supposed to be this haunted place. But I don't know. I think that'd be kind of cool. Kind of cool to do.
I wouldn't want to go to sleep, man. I'd be like up all night, standing up.
Not a chance in the world.
You can hit us up on the text board with your favorite horror movies in honor of the 45th anniversary of The Shining. But I want to get back to this Eagles conversation because as we look at the 2024 Eagles and were they the top 5, I think a lot more fans may say, hey, listen, it was fun. We enjoyed it, but we want to figure out, is this team good enough to repeat in 2025? So we're going to jump into that. And you're listening to WPEN and WPEN HD1 Burlington, Philadelphia, a Beasley Media Group station broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studios, powering possibilities. So for this team to repeat, we know the pieces that they lost on defense, and we're going to be probably talking about that all summer. Who's going to take over for Milton Williams at defensive tackle? Who's going to replace the reps that Josh Sweat gave you? Who's your corner on the outside now that Darius Slay's gone? Who's going to win that starting safety position with Chauncey Gardner-Johnson? We'll have those conversations all summer long. But when you look at the offense and that rushing attack that was so dominant, are they going to have to evolve? New offensive coordinator Kevin Patullo. Well, Sirianni spoke earlier this week when he was being congratulated on his contract extension, which we still don't know the details about. But this is what he said is the beauty of the offseason. Listen to Nick.
Yeah. Again, you always want to do the things that your players do best. And so there's figuring out who the players are. Now Kevin's obviously been here through the 4 years. He has a very good feel of what they do and what they do well. And so you always want to do what they do best. You always want to keep things in that you've done well, that you want to continue to grow and dress up a little bit, and then also some new wrinkles that kind of mesh to that. And then you have some things that it might be brand new. But that's the beauty of the off season. You go through your process and you decide, hey, here's what's primary, here's what's secondary, here's what's out, here's what's new, and then you start repping it, and it kind of evolves as you go.
So again, you hear the word evolve. I played clips earlier. I'll play them again for you coming up, where A.J. Brown uses the terms evolve. Jalen Hurts uses the term evolve. For me, when I look at this offense last year and how it can evolve this year, the first thing I would go to is the passing game, right? You were 29th in terms of passing yards. You were 32nd in terms of passing attempts. That was intentional because of the dominant year that Saquon Barkley had. But history's not on Saquon Barkley's side as being able to repeat. When you look at some of the numbers of 2,000-yard rushers, the following year is almost always a decline.
Right.
So when I think evolve, I'm thinking, okay, they're going to have to do more with their passing attack. And I would think they're certainly capable. We talked about A.J. Brown earlier. We've talked about Devontae and Goddard and Jalen Hurts. I mean, I'm seeing, when I hear evolve, I'm thinking, okay, the passing game becomes a bigger part. Not the main part, but a bigger part.
Yeah, and they really have to, because you can't rely on Saquon Barkley, obviously, to have the season that he had last year to replicate that. Like you said, history doesn't suggest that he's going to be able to mirror that, especially in terms of health. But the passing game, I think, is going to reach another level under Kevin Patullo, who was the pass game coordinator for the Eagles, so he knows exactly the different intricacies, how to best accentuate his personnel. I think A.J. Brown, he's matchup proof. You can move him around formations. Jahan Dotson's a player we don't talk about a lot, but I'm curious to see how his rapport with Jalen Hurts evolves. He's a guy who I think you can stretch the field with. The Eagles have not done a lot of that the past couple of seasons, so I think you're going to have to utilize the third level of the field and then the middle of the field, which we got a call about. With Dallas Goedert, they have to tap into that to really open up the full playbook.
Yeah, and last season, even though things were good, we know they won 16 of 17 down the stretch. There was that game following the Carolina Panthers where they almost lost it, where A.J. Brown says, what do you need to work on? And he says, the passing game. And then that got blown up, that he was taking a shot at Jalen Hurts. So when A.J. spoke this week, I think he was a little more careful with his words. But when he was asked about that offense, this is what A.J. had to say.
I can't predict how the offense will look next year. But I do know we have to evolve as a team, evolve as an offense. And I think that's a question for KP, honestly. And for me, my job is just to focus on whenever I get those opportunities, just make the most of them. And that's pretty much, that's my box. That's the box I'm going to stay in.
Yeah, AJ, being more careful with his words.
Calculated.
Here. Yeah, definitely calculated. But look, what the Eagles did last season in winning a Super Bowl, and I don't want to even say with that bad of a passing offense, because they weren't bad. They just didn't utilize it. But for that limited of yards for passing, if you know,
it was a limited passing attack.
Yeah, it wasn't a bad passing attack. It's just finishing 29th in the league. That is not the norm. Most of your Super Bowl winners, if you look at the last 15, 20 years, were in the top 10 in passing. Mm-hmm. Eagles were 29th in passing. So I just can't imagine that they come back into this season with even the mentality of, we're not going to try to be better. I don't think it needs to become a main part. Like I said, it doesn't have to be the main focus. I still think you lean on your rushing attack. It's got to be. I keep hating using the word better because it wasn't necessarily it was bad. It just has to be more focused on the passing offense than it was.
Yeah, it was underutilized, I guess, is maybe the best word.
There you go. That's a good word, yeah.
But when they needed to tap into it, they did. The deep shot to Jahan Dotson. Dallas Goedert had a really big game in the Super Bowl. But there were times earlier in the season, Bill, I don't know if you felt the same way, where it was really clunky. It felt like they were laboring to move the football down the field, via the passing game. But it seemed as the season started to wear on and everybody got more comfortable and there was some more continuity there, it seemed to be a lot more sharp, but they need to be able to hit the ground running early and have it a much more expansive passing attack.
Now, if you remember, in the offseason last year, Jalen Hurts turned a lot of heads because when he was asked how new is the offense, he threw out the 95%, right? And everybody started losing their minds, 95%. You watch a lot of film. What I saw last year was not 95% new offense. It was not, wow, what a different style of offense than what Nick Sirianni usually runs. I still saw a lot of a Nick Sirianni offense last season.
Yeah, so did I. I mean, it was, I don't want to say, there was a lack of creativity there. It was very simplistic route concepts and a compressed offense. It was a lot of horizontal routes. You didn't see a lot of vertical routes. And then they go to the bye week. You got to give credit to Nick Sirianni for being receptive and listening to his players. And then they adopt a whole new philosophy coming out of the bye week, and they become really run heavy.
So with that being said, I want to talk about on the other side, like how big of a loss is Kellen Moore then, right? If we're thinking that a lot of this offense still resembled what Nick Sirianni was doing even in years past, how big of a loss is it going from Kellen Moore to Kevin Patullo? We'll also hear from Jalen Hurts because he addressed the offense a little bit as well. But I want to have that discussion with Andrew coming up right after this.
Philadelphia Union
In the mood to be down the shore, relaxing, drink in your hand, Ray.
I'd rather hear Master of Puppets.
Well, you're going to Metallica tonight, aren't you?
Oh, that's right. I am going to Metallica.
So I know. I think WMMR is going to be representing there tonight, if I'm not mistaken. I think
They are. Yeah.
they got something going on. So, what's your favorite Metallica song, man?
I would probably say, "For Whom the Bell Tolls." I'll give you a deep cut. "Disposable Heroes."
I got to hear it. I wouldn't know it by just the name of it.
It's on Master of Puppets.
See, look, like, I'm not going to pretend to be a Metallica fan. I probably don't know all their albums.
You would have had a lot of fun if you were going.
Oh, is that it? Is this it?
Yeah.
I know the song. I didn't know that's what it was called.
Andrew and John actually have, like, when they're going to break, you'll hear their instrumental Orion, which I like a lot too.
I mean, I like, obviously, the ones that everybody knows.
There it is. Yeah, it's Orion.
You know, everybody knows this.
We use all the same instrumentals.
Enter the Sandman. Like, I love Enter the Sandman.
Enter Sandman.
Enter Sandman, whatever.
The Sandman.
Not Enter the Sandman.
Adam Sandler?
Yeah. Enter Sandman.
This is a children's place, man. This is a family place.
You know what else was good? I liked Unforgiven.
Yeah, The Unforgiven, and then they have The Unforgiven 2.
Unforgiven 2.
I don't like The Unforgiven 2.
Nothing Else Matters is a good jam.
That's a little too slow for me.
Yeah, I like that when he goes a little slow. Anyway, have fun tonight.
Yeah, thanks.
Have fun tonight.
You too, and Ocean City.
Yeah, going to Ocean City tonight, spending the weekend
Ray,
down there.
you too, and Wildwood.
I will. Don't you worry.
I really hope so.
Quick
Take
Enter
a-
Sandman story for you.
Yeah,
while
go ahead.
we're sitting here.
Yeah.
60 seconds to get back to what we're talking about. I did a summer collegiate ball where part of being the broadcaster, you had to pull everyone's walk-up songs. So we had a reliever that wanted to come out to Enter Sandman, and you come out to Enter Sandman as a reliever, you kind of have to live up to what it is.
Yeah, you're the closer. Man.
He came in, walked the bases loaded, 12 pitches, 12 consecutive balls.
Yeah, you can't do that.
Yeah,
You can't come out there with this big spectacle and then go out there and just give up a run like that.
Came into my office the next day. I was like, "Yeah, we need to change this. I can't walk out to Enter Sandman again."
Yeah, I would have said, return your uniform. You're done.
Yeah, well, it's similar to, I'm drawing a blank on his name now, the Phillies reliever. We did it for a guest of Philly, and I got it right the other day. That comes sprinting out.
Oh, Jared Hughes.
Yeah, Hughes. Like, you can't sprint out of the bullpen.
Try to make a statement.
And then literally give up a home run on your first pitch. It's a violation. But, look, I want to get back to the Eagles for a second. We'll get our Twitter poll numbers coming up. We'll get back to the text board about whether or not they're a top 5 team last year. But as we look forward to this year and them repeating, Kellen Moore leaves, gets hired by the Saints. Another person on the Nick Sirianni head coaching tree, which is growing. You got Gannon, you got Steichen, now you got Kellen Moore as a part of Sirianni's coaching tree, which is wild. But he leaves, and now Kevin Patullo takes over, passing game coordinator. And I know there are still people out there who want Nick Sirianni to stay as far away from the offenses as possible, right? We heard that all of last season.
I'm the dumbest coach in the world.
But
that's not nice,
Ray.
So I'm not doing a good enough job.
You and I both agreed before the break that this offense that dominated in 2024, at least in the rushing attack, had a lot of similarities to previous seasons.
It did.
Now, I've said before, I know Nick Sirianni has a lot of influence on the offense, but when I look at the Philadelphia Eagles offense, it's a Jalen Hurts offense. Like, you build this offense based off of what your quarterback does well. You can call certain runs because of who you have at the quarterback position. And even with Kevin Patullo taking over last year when Kellen Moore took over, 2 years ago, Brian Johnson, the year before that, Shane Steichen. Yeah, there's a lot of Sirianni influence, but to me, it's Jalen Hurts. It's the offense that revolves around your starting quarterbacks because of his unique skill set.
Yeah, it's not going to be a drastic departure, I wouldn't imagine, with Kevin Patullo there. And the Eagles are able to do certain things. Certain things are available to them in their playbook because of what Jalen Hurts is able to do. That being that +1 in the running game and opening things up like that. So that's the starting point. You build around good coordinators anyway, build around the strengths of their quarterback. And Jalen's really proven that there's not many things he's not good at.
And he's used to change. I mean, he has a new play call. Yes.
Adaptability is insane because he's had so many coordinators, so many different play callers. You know, maybe a coach wants you to do it this way, and then another coach wants you to do the same thing another way, and you're constantly having to relearn.
Yeah, it's almost like now the norm for Jalen is change. Mm-hmm. Like, it's not normal for him to not get a new play caller, to not get a new quarterback coach. But Jalen Hurts was asked about the offense on Tuesday, and Last year, when he threw out the 95%, it turned a lot of heads. He stayed away from the number, but this is what Jalen said he expects the offense to look like this season.
There's some nuances that are different, I know in the past I gave a number, on that matter, but things evolve and things change as time goes on. And so we're just really bought into that. That's an important thing. I think that's something that I've learned as well, is you have to be able to evolve as time goes on. And so given, Coach Kevin Patullo and his new role now and him being the one in charge of offensive leadership, you get new pieces and new ideas that come from everyone, so Coach Scott, another new quarterback coach who's been great thus far, and Coach Parks Frazier, who's been great as well. And so it's still early in the process. It's still early in building this team that we want it to be. Ultimately, it'll be a collaborative effort, and it'll take everybody just to be on the same page again to see what the iteration of this team will be.
There it is, right? Iteration.
Loves it.
That's the new word. But look, Jalen makes a lot of good points in here. He talks about Kevin Patullo. But last season, I remember when we were doing our Birds Insider shows leading into the season, you kept making the point about the defense that the supporting cast to Vic Fangio. It wasn't just Vic. You kept talking a lot about the coaching staff and how good they were and how much that was going to help the success of the defense, and you were spot on. We know Kevin Patullo gets promoted, but let's talk about two other guys that Jalen just mentioned. So he mentioned Scott Loeffler, the new quarterback coach, because Nussmeier followed Kellen Moore again. He had experience at Bowling Green as a head coach. We know he had one season as a quarterback coach with the Detroit Lions, I believe.
Yep.
But he also mentions Parks Frazier. Now, what's interesting about Frazier, he was with the Miami Dolphins last year. And the Miami Dolphins, they leave a lot to be desired in other areas, but that offense we saw can be explosive.
Prolific, yeah.
Right? So, how much do you think Parks Frazier and Scott Loeffler are going to bring to this offense?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think a lot. And Parks Frazier's a younger coach, and I was told that when they hired him, that he's going to be another innovative coach that's going to implement a lot of different ideologies and have them progressive thinking, continuously try to push the ball down the field and take the passing game to another level. Scott Loeffler is someone who I've been told he's going to teach the fundamentals. He's going to watch film with you. He's going to really harp on some of those different mechanics, and that's really what they need. And I'm curious to see how they mesh with what they already have there in place. But if Nick Sirianni and his staff has proven anything right now, Bill, it's that they're going to get a lot of pieces in place and have that strong group of coaches to grow with.
Yeah, man, I hope you're right, because you were spot on with that defense and how good those assistants were going to be, and they were able to retain that defensive staff.
Including Christian Parker, who got a look as a DC.
Yeah, I was nervous. I thought Kellen Moore was going to steal him.
Yeah, so did I.
I thought he was going to steal him.
Next time, though, the Eagles are borrowing him. They're not. He's not. I don't think he's going to be here for the long term.
Yeah, well, take advantage of it while you can. But coming up next, I'm going to tell you and Ray my favorite thing that Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts have done this offseason.
Hell yeah.
I'll tell you about that coming up next.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Phillies sweep the Rockies. I'm Ray Dunn with this Fanatic Sports Update. The Phillies beat the Rockies 2-0 yesterday as Ranger Suarez went 6 2/3, striking out 6 and not allowing a run. The win completes a 4-game sweep of the Rockies. The Phils winning all 7 over Colorado this season. 7 wins against the Rockies. As for Colorado, they have 8 wins on the season. Just brutal baseball out there for the Rockies this season. For the Phils, it's 7 straight wins as they make their way now to Sacramento to face the A's. 10:05 first pitch tonight. Zach Wheeler getting the ball for the Phils. OTAs start Tuesday for the Birds. The reigning Super Bowl champions again back out there trying to prepare for potential repeat season in 2025. And the NBA postseason continues. The Oklahoma City Thunder up 2-0 down in the Western Conference Finals after another win last night. Game 2 of the Eastern Conference Finals. If it's anything like Game 1, you're going to want to be tuned tuned into that, and you can be tuned into it tonight right here on the Fanatic. Pacers, Knicks, Game 2 pregame coverage beginning at 7:30 right here on 97.5 The Fanatic. This update's brought to you by Rocket. Rocket.com is a single, seamless homeownership platform to help you find, buy, sell, finance, and even refinance your home. Get started today at Rocket.com. Rocket, own the dream. I'm Ray Dunn on your home for NBA playoff action. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com. Oh, a cold beer on a Friday night? That doesn't sound like something you want?
This is beyond brutal.
I don't like country, dude.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest country guy in the world, but you can't tell me you don't like a cold beer on a Friday night.
I told you, boy band Fridays is what I want.
Oh, God, yeah. Keep dreaming.
Yeah, keep dreaming. Well, look, we've been having some fun today. We were debating the Saquon Barkley comment about whether or not the Eagles were the top 5 team of all time last season. And we'll get back to that conversation before the end. I'll get you the final Twitter poll results. We'll hit our text board again. But there was something that Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts both did this offseason that is my favorite thing so far. And I told Andrew DeCecco during the break. I shouldn't have told him. But, Ray, do you know can you guess, what did Sirianni and Hurts do this offseason that is my favorite thing to date?
Ooh. I mean, I know you were a really big fan of Hurts being in the Time 100. I don't think that's it.
It was something I learned in that Time 100 piece, though.
Oh. They didn't give themselves a lot of time to celebrate the Super Bowl. They moved on quickly.
No. Close. In that Time 100 magazine, Jalen Hurts, the person who wrote about Jalen Hurts, was Derek Jeter. And Jeter said he had an opportunity to meet with Jalen shortly after the Super Bowl. And all Jalen Hurts wanted to talk to him about was, what's the mindset to repeat? My favorite thing that Hurts and Sirianni have done is who they have spoken to about winning again. Hurts has spoken to Derek Jeter, 5-time World Series winner. We know he's having dinner with Michael Jordan, 6-time champion. Nick Sirianni met with Nick Saban, 7-time champion. Dawn Staley, 2-time champion. And then a friend of the show, Gino Auriemma, who's only won 13 of them? How many, Ray? 13? How many Auriemma won?
Feels right.
Maybe it was 12. Maybe it's 12. I think I'm giving him one extra. I think it may have been 12. But I love that. Like, there's a saying that I used to always say when I had a business. If you're the smartest man in the room, you're in the wrong room. You can always learn from other people, right?
You especially.
Definitely, Ray. That's why I love being here, because I'm always the dumbest guy when you're here. Not so much when Mike's here, but when you're here. But think about that. So Sirianni is talking to these coaches, Dawn Staley, another one, like, who have done it, who know what the mindset needs to be to get back and win it again. Jalen Hurts, the only thing he wants to talk to Jeter and MJ about is, hey, how did you do it again and again and again? I love that, man.
Yeah, the championship mindset, and I think that kind of encapsulates who Jalen Hurts is, and he doesn't shy away from who he really tries to model himself after. But for me, Bill, the prominent takeaway from the media availability was that both Jalen Hurts, Jordan Mailata, A.J. Brown, Nick Sirianni, they all said they moved on right away. Because I think sometimes teams get caught up in basking in the glow of a Super Bowl, and then there's that hangover effect. This team knows how good they are. They know how wide the window is, and they want to take advantage of it, and they're not getting complacent. And I think that was one thing that I came away, pretty impressed with, their mindset and how they're approaching it.
Yeah, did you expect anything less from Jalen, though?
No, but to hear that collectively from all those players.
But it starts at the top, which is good. But that's why I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again. I don't want to sound like the old man yelling at the clouds. We've been talking a lot about Saquon Barkley and what he said on a podcast. And the podcast he said that on is Cooper DeJean's new podcast. I don't love that Cooper DeJean is already doing things that maybe veterans who've accomplished a lot are doing, like the podcast and being out there at the the Kentucky Derby, and you see him talking about girls DMing him and all these things. And I get it. You want to take advantage of your fame when it's hot, right? You're hot right now. So hot right now, right? So hot right now. You know the movie? Zoolander. Anyway.
I was going to say, help me out here.
Anyway.
Thought he was just really getting into the whole Cooper DeJean conversation.
Hansel, so hot right now. Look, I love Cooper DeJean. And I think he's going to be a very good player for a very long time. And I don't want to say to anybody, when you have an opportunity to take advantage of your fame, do it. We know the NFL, not for long, all the cliches. I just get a little bit concerned that this rookie from Iowa, who found all this fame in a big city now nationally, has the Super Bowl return for a touchdown, interception return for a touchdown in the Super Bowl. I just hope it's not going to be too much for him too quickly.
I'm going to tell you why it's not. Because they have leaders there. They have strong leaders, led by Nick Sirianni. They have Jordan Mailata, Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown. A lot of players who know what it takes to win and know what it takes to be focused. And that mindset, I think, is going to really radiate throughout the whole team. They're not going to let someone like Cooper DeJean, who's immensely talented, fall into the traps of a young player who gets caught up in anything. He's going to be focused, and he'll be ready to go just like everybody else. If you notice, last season, one thing I was really impressed with, Bill, every week they went 1-0. They didn't look behind them. They didn't look past. They didn't play down to any opponent. They were ready to go every week, and that takes a collective mindset, and I don't think that they're going to let one player kind of deviate from that.
No, it's a really good point. I mean, that's something I think that Sirianni is good at. When the people who try to detract from Nick Sirianni, well, what does he do? He doesn't call plays. He's
Culture,
just a cheerleader. Man. That culture, and you're right, it starts with being ready every single week. I mean, it is almost unheard of to look at a team that wins 16 of their last 17 games, that looks ready every single week. And I know there were some hiccups during that process. They didn't look great against the Cleveland Browns or the Jags or even the Carolina Panthers. But to have your team pretty much ready to play every single week, that's pretty impressive from a head coach. That's a good point. And like I said, I don't want to sound like this guy who's hating on Cooper DeJean.
No.
I'm not. But you do get concerned that does fame come a little bit too quickly, and is there too much on your plate? I mean, they're doing the podcast, and I don't want to be one of these guys either, because you'll see when sometimes stuff gets shared on social media. It's like, get in the gym, get on the field.
Oh, yeah, I hate that.
There's 24 hours in a day. These guys can go to the gym for 2 hours. There's still 22 hours.
They're also allowed to have lives, so I always hate that.
Exactly.
Watch film. Come on.
Exactly.
You have no idea what their rigorous schedule's like throughout the season.
Yeah, and as we're talking about Cooper DeJean, I was reading another article before the show from Pro Football Focus, and this one surprised me. So they made a list of their top 25 players under the age of 25. Cooper DeJean is on that list. Quinyon Mitchell wasn't.
Interesting. Did they give it? Well, what was their logic?
Ray's so good with the drought. I don't know. It puts in there. Now, they did do another article that said ones who almost made it, and Quinyon's on that. It said 10 players who were just outside the rankings, and they did include Quinyon Mitchell. And it said, while one Eagles rookie cornerback, Cooper DeJean, made the original list, DeJean's counterpart narrowly missed the cut. Mitchell was very bit as impactful for the Eagles, particularly down the stretch, and that just goes on to talk about some of the things he did. But love Cooper DeJean, but I don't think you could have Cooper ranked above Quinyon. I mean, they're both pretty damn good.
And it seems like Quinyon just gets cast aside because he doesn't have the interceptions, and obviously Cooper had the pick six in the Super Bowl, but don't let that fool you. Teams were afraid to throw to his side of the field. And he was a shutdown corner as a young player. I don't know how you can omit him from that list. I think that's really egregious, in my opinion.
And when you say that, you make me think about the future. So teams were afraid to throw to Quinyon's side, but when they went to the other side, Darius Slay was still playing.
He was holding it down,
a very high level. Now they're going to go to that other side, and it's going to be either Adoree Jackson, Keely Ringo. I mean, who else do you see maybe working their way into that competition?
Not even Mac McWilliams, the fifth-round pick. He can play inside or outside, but he's 5'10", shorter arms. He's not really going to be in the starting mix. He'll have a role, but I think it's going to be. I mean, Keely Ringo is obviously the favorite. I think if you're the Eagles, you want nothing more than for Keely Ringo to win that job. But so that leaves you with an inexperienced player on the outside, right? And then you had Reed Blankenship, who's now heading the safety room. Remember the last time he was, tasked with that assignment, and he's going to be playing alongside either a rookie and Drew Makuba, who's most likely being the starter, and Sidney Brown.
Yeah, they're a young defense, man.
They're young,
and I've always been high on Keely Ringo. I thought before they drafted Quinyon Mitchell, I thought that Ringo was the guy they were going to go with last year. I'm still hopeful. I mean, when we talk about how young that defense is, Quinyon's 23. I think Cooper DeJean's 23. Keely's only 22. I mean, he was so young when they drafted him. You're not as high on him, and I've heard you talk about him before. He's very handsy, right? He may commit a lot of penalties.
And you're going to have a target on your back regardless of how good you are, because Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean are so good at what they do. And the middle of the field, the deep middle, I should say, they're going to be exploited earlier in the season as well. They're going to be tested, I should say. They're going to try and test somebody like Drew Makuba and trying to catch him napping. They're going to see if Reed Blankenship has the range, because remember, When C.J. Gardner-Johnson was here, Reed played better. When Reed had to head the safety room, was playing alongside Justin Evans and Terrell Edmonds, that's where he was grossly miscast, and teams were able to take advantage of it.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a talking point all summer as training camp starts, too, with what's going to happen on defense. And you heard Andrews just say Drew Makuba. He made it clear. It's not Andrew Makuba, right? He wants to be called Drew.
Yeah, he mentioned he wants to be called Drew.
What do you think about that?
One Andrew in town. That's Andrew DeCecco.
Well, Salciunas.
So being an Andrew yourself, though, how do you handle that? Do you like that he shortens it to Drew?
Not really. I mean, people shorten my name to Drew sometimes. When I introduce myself, I said Andrew DeCecco, and they say, hey, nice to meet you, Drew. I said, I didn't say Drew. I said Andrew.
I think Andy DeCecco's got a nice ring, too.
I hate Andy. That's the kid from Toy Story. Don't group me in with that nonsense.
Yeah, Andy.
Andrew.
And Ray could be...
No, stop. Anything you want.
You could be
anything you're going to say. We got to get to a break.
You can't turn my mic off when I'm driving the show here,
I
Ray.
can. I'm taking over.
All right, well, I got something else that's going to make Ray angry. Because I didn't do a lot of Sirianni love today. Nick Sirianni is going to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Or at least something of his is going. I'll explain it on the other side. We'll get our final Twitter poll results before we get out of here for Memorial Day weekend. Keep it right here.
We want to hear from you. So text us at 6.
Come on, pretty mama. Oh, Ray's ready to go.
This is one of the top 20 worst songs ever recorded.
Oh, stop it. Ray turned your mic off. Ray turned his mic off. Yeah, the Beach Boys are phenomenal. Now, Ray, what I thought you were going to come back with, I'm not complaining about the Beach Boys. I thought you were going to come back with On the Way to Cape May.
Don't think we have it in the system.
I fell in love
stop
with
it.
you.
Now you're going
I'm
to rip
making sure
on
you don't
that?
turn the mic off.
Or, Ray, Wildwood Days. Wildwood Days.
Well, that's what today is for me.
That is
tomorrow.
correct.
And the next day after that.
I have not done a lot of Sirianni love today.
You haven't done
However-
any. You haven't done any.
However, and I'm not going to sing, so don't worry. You don't have to turn the radio off. But Nick Sirianni is going to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Maybe not him individually, but the Pro Football Hall of Fame has put out a tweet, and it's an unboxing. Coach Nick Sirianni's headset and sideline shirt from Super Bowl 59 have officially landed in the hall. Now on display in our Super Bowl exhibit, a tribute to Philadelphia's championship moment and the coach who led the charge.
So much good.
Oh, Ray, maybe I do need to sing it. No, I'm not.
I'm the
gonna-
smartest coach in the
We'll
world.
let you do it.
No, I'm not going to sing
I'll
it
let you
today.
do it, yeah.
But Sirianni's shirt and headset in Canton, Ohio.
You
What
look,
a day.
you look like a proud father right now.
What a day. What a 180 from he's a clown, fire him, to his headset is hanging in Canton.
He's sweating in there.
Oh, my goodness.
At 180. It's going to have a lot of Gatorade. It's probably all sticky.
I am smiling ear to ear.
Never mind. Never mind.
Ray, stay away
Leave
from
that
it.
one alone.
Stay away from that one, Ray.
Leave it go.
All right, well, as we finish our conversation on Saquon Barkley's comments. So if you missed it, we've been talking about it all day, that Saquon said they were a top 5 team of all time, that the 24 Eagles were a top 5 team of all time. I made the argument and gave stats on why I agreed with him. Andrew and Ray said, look, they were really good. They're top 10, but not top 5. But we also put out a Twitter poll, and I'm curious where the final results come in, Ray.
All right, final results here on our Twitter poll at 97.5. The Fanatic Saquon Barkley said that the 2024 Eagles were a top 5 all-time team in the NFL. Do you agree with Saquon? 11% of the people saying no. It was just recency bias. 22% of the people saying no, but they're top 10. And 66% of the people out there, yes, they're top 5.
Wow.
So they do not agree with Mr. Dunn and myself.
Not necessarily, but at least, wait, so how many, do the math for me real quick, Ray. How many people agree they're a top 10 team of all time when you add in the top 5?
88%.
Wow.
Well, and then you started throwing the decimal points. We're like 89%.
Dude, that's 88% of the people. I mean, they were a really dominant team.
And we're not disputing that, but just the ranking.
Just the ranking. And look, it's a fun barroom conversation. It doesn't really matter whether they are or not. They're Super Bowl champions. But when you're that dominant of a team, like we're talking about this team being potentially a top 10 of all time, when I look at this team that's coming back, and we've talked about how they can evolve offensively, we've talked a lot about some of the defensive pieces that they're missing, but that's what gives me hope that they can repeat, because you don't have to be that. You don't have to be the top 10 of all time. They don't have to be as dominant as they were and still give themselves a good shot at repeating.
Exactly, especially when you build the roster as they have with all these different Zach Bond committing to him. 3 years, $51 million. You have a lot of pieces on the defensive side. They're a little bit younger there, Bill, but they have a lot of fire. Are you all right there? A lot of firepower on offense that they should be able to atone for any sort of defensive shortcomings or struggles in the early going.
I feel like the New York Knicks with how I'm choking in here.
Damn, I took the joke right from me once Pacheco finished his thought.
You were pulling the Halliburton there.
I know, that's what I felt like, man. Woo. But so we're going to have a lot of conversation.
I try to help them out, man. I try to fill some time.
We'll have a lot more Eagles conversation all summer long. But if you want more Eagles talk, make sure you tune in tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock, because Andrew DeCecco will be back on the air with his early birds. And I've said this before. I'm not just saying this because you're here. Best Eagles mind in the business sitting next to me right now with Andrew DeCecco. So make sure.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I did not pay you to say that.
You did not. So make sure you check that out tomorrow. But also this weekend, let's switch back to the Phillies for a second. Phillies have been on an absolute tear. Won 7 in a row. They're now up to, on the season, 11-4-1 in terms of series wins, which is excellent. They just did it against the worst team we've seen since 1895. It's not like things are going to get that much harder because now they got to play the Athletics in Sacramento, and that's the minor league ballpark, right?
Yeah.
So what are we hoping for this weekend now? They've just took 4 from the Rockies. They took 3 right before that, so they've won 7 straight. Are we expecting them, as bad as the Athletics are, can we really expect them to go 3 straight against the Athletics?
Win 10 in a row?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility. It's more likely they win 10 in a row than they lose 2 or 3.
No, but I'd be okay if they just win 2 or 3. We'll just win another series, right? Are you?
I would be okay
sweep or bust,
with
Ray?
that too. No.
Sweep or bust?
No, I'm not going sweep or bust here. They just won 4 in a row. Like, they've won 7 in a row at this point. At some point, they will lose a baseball game.
No, all fair. Ray said they were going to sweep them.
I actually said they're not losing until June. That's what I said. If you want to actually document me correctly, they're not losing until June.
Well,
Maybe
I
not till July.
don't know if you did say they were going to sweep them. I just, wanted to put the spotlight on you.
No, you tried. You tried to. I'll make it an extreme take if you want to try and put a take.
There it is. There's the extreme take.
They're not losing again until the end of July. All right, folks? We're going to go to the trade deadline. They won't have lost the game since May 15th. How long has it been? It's been a while.
It's been a while. And as we talk about the Phillies, and we look at the NL East, because that's the goal. You want to win your division. We focus a lot on the Mets, rightfully so. But Ronald Acuna was activated today, Ray, for the Braves. Are we writing off the Braves too quickly?
I'm not.
I mean, I know they haven't started out great, but Strider has started his rehab assignment, right, if I'm not mistaken?
Mm-hmm.
Now you bringing back Acuna. You worried about the Braves at all?
I think to write a team off this early, except the Colorado Rockies, I think would be malpractice. It's a long season. Things happen. The Braves are starting to get a little bit healthier on the horizon. At least it looks like it on the horizon. So, no, you can't write them off.
Yeah, to be clear, I thought Strider started early.
Did he already have a start?
I thought he already came back.
Okay.
I thought they activated him.
Yeah, I remember seeing something on Strider.
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
He came back against the Nationals this week. Didn't look like Strider, but he came back.
So he came back. So, look, it's not going to be easy. We know the National League is tough in general, but the NL East looks deep. I was looking at ESPN put out their power rankings today in Major League Baseball. Phillies moved way up as they should. They moved up to 3. So they were previously ranked number 6. The Dodgers dropped from number 1 to number 2. Could you guess as to who rose all the way up to number 1 in the power rankings?
Coming off a win of the Subway Series? Are they going to give it to the evil Empire?
They did not. Yankees are 4th.
Oh, wow. Tigers then?
Detroit Tigers, man. Tigers have been unbelievable.
I thought that New York bias was going to come in.
Yeah, so according to ESPN, you got the Tigers, the Dodgers, then you're fighting Phils, Yankees 4, Mets 5, and then this is why the NL is so tough. You got the Cubs, the Padres, the Giants are number 9. Like, there's a lot of good teams. The Diamondbacks are 11. The Cardinals are 12. They don't even have the Braves up there. Braves are 14th, but we all agree you can't write the Braves off.
They're hovering around 500. They just got back a former MVP and a former Cy Young. I mean,
yeah, you can't write them up before Memorial Day, especially based on how things are trending in terms of health for them.
Wow. You can write the Rockies off.
Well, yeah.
And
that's a double-A team.
Yeah.
Yes. Remember, the Rockies are the worst team in Major League Baseball since
1895.
We were giving cocaine to children at local dentists. Like, that was the last time a team was this bad.
Well, people were wearing suits then, so that was cool. But
that's what I want, man. I want the suits and the hats back. I want the bowler hats.
No, I know why you want the hat.
Yeah,
back.
I want to cover up the bald spot.
And I don't want that.
No, the hats. I'm out.
I want
on
the
that.
bald spot, man. I want to cover it up.
I saw some in the YouTube chat earlier today. Said it was nice to see you got a haircut.
I know. When am I getting the other hair done? Very, very funny.
Yeah, hilarious.
Very funny. It's all right. Never stopped me. All right, Ray, I want to go back to the text board, though, because I know a lot of people weighed in. We talked about a bunch of stuff today. We were talking about horror movies because it was the 45th anniversary of when The Shining was released. But we were also talking about Saquon saying they were a top 5 team of all time. What do we got on the text board?
All right, first-time text here. Top 10, yes. Top 5 arguments we made can be 4 to 7. People are looking at this wrong. They say top defense of all time and top offense. This is a combo. To be a top team of all time, you need to look at both sides being prolific. Example, Ravens in 2000, top 3 defense all time, but not a top 5 team. Teams that dominated both sides of the ball. That's why I think there's a good argument to be made. They're in the 4 to 7 range all time.
I'm saying top 5. But I'm not going to get angry, even though I was kidding with you two. People are saying top 10. I mean, there's been a lot of good teams, and maybe recency bias does set in a little bit. Because as I was doing this exercise and going through some of the teams, I mean, I could go with 8 teams right off the bat that you could make the argument for that should be above the Eagles. Now, I made the argument why the Eagles are above, but I could understand saying 85 Bears, 89 Niners, 72 Dolphins, 91 Washington Commanders. The 96 Green Bay team, man, we forget how good that team was with Favre when he was an MVP guy.
92 Cowboys.
92 Cowboys, the Legion of Boom in 2013, the greatest show on turf in 99, the 07 Patriots, even though I'm eliminating them because they didn't win. But here's something crazy. We had a texter earlier say that this may be the most impressive, though, because of the salary cap, because a lot of those teams was before the salary cap. So Howie Roseman is only the 4th general manager in the salary cap era to build 3 different Super Bowl rosters with the same franchise. Here's the other 3 who did it. Belichick had Tom Brady.
Tom Brady taking less money.
Brett Veach, who had Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. And then Kevin Colbert, who did it with Roethlisberger and Tomlin and Cowher. Howie's the only one that's done it with 2 different quarterbacks. And really 3, if you consider.
Yeah, I was going to say probably 3.
Wentz to Foles. I mean, it's unbelievable what he's done. And he's also done it with different head coaches, too. Like, Belichick did it, but he was also the coach. Veach did it, but they had Reid. And even though Colbert went from Cowher to Tomlin, it was still Roethlisberger, and it was still kind of the same team. It's mind-blowing what Howie Roseman has done, man.
I think he's starting to get his flowers now, but what he's been able to do in building the team the way that he has and be able to retain a lot of the players, I think, is nothing short of spectacular.
Pretty awesome. Ray, what else we got on the text board, brother?
We got another first-time texter. Have to agree with Saquon and Lori. The 2024 Eagles are the single greatest team of all time. They're the most complete team of all time. Not very often, if ever, has a team had the number 1 defense, a perennially dominant offensive line, a top 5 quarterback, a top 3 and top 10 wide receiver, and a top 7 tight end. No team pre-2000 has a hope versus them. Only teams that can match them are the 2013 Seahawks and some of Brady-led Super Bowl winning teams. And forgot to mention the running back who had arguably the best season ever at the position.
Oh, man, what a magical season it was, man. It really was. That's why I wanted to do this today, because I wanted to feel good going into the unofficial start of summer. But it really was a magical season from top to bottom. I hope we enjoyed it enough. I think we did.
Yeah, I think we did. We covered it.
But this was it. I'm turning the page now because we're about 100 days from when the Super Bowl happened. Then we're about 100 days from the Dallas Cowboys coming to the link when we get to raise the banner.
The Eagles have already turned the page.
Yeah. Yes, they have. Well, listen, everybody, you have a great Memorial Day weekend. Ray Dunn, you drive safely down the Wildwood, my friend. Be safe. I'll be heading to Ocean City tonight. Andrew DeCecco will be right back here tomorrow. Not trying to rub it in, but Andrew DeCecco will be right back here tomorrow morning talking Eagles on Saturday morning from 9 to 12, and then back on Memorial Day doing the morning show with Kevin Cooney. So make sure you keep it here. And if you are going down the shore, you can still listen. You can stream it. You can stream it down the shore, but keep it here. We got the afternoon show coming up next. Have a great Memorial Day, everybody.